What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with the one, the only, Mr. Mort Jensen of the NBA podcast fame, of Yahoo Sports fame, of Forbes' fame, and of, most importantly, OnlyFans celebrity. Mort is back from a much-needed break, while Grant is away on a much-needed break, and we were trying to figure out what to talk about today. We were going to do teams that have unfinished business, but we decided not to short shrift everybody. We're going to do every team and talk about unfinished business that they have, break it up into the East and the West. If you are watching this, per the title, it is the Western Conference we begin with. Before we get started, though, first and foremost, we're always working through some potential mic issues. So if anyone's not hearing us as well on YouTube is where it seems to be the biggest issue, let you know, and I will adjust in real time. But this is an impromptu stream, so maybe nobody's watching this, is all I would say.
Right.
But second, and actually most importantly, Mort, how the heck are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. As you can see, I finally have a slightly different background now because my wife started actually putting the entire cupboard up and or not, what do you call it? The whole thing. Yeah.
Closet?
The closet. There we go. Thank you. Yes, I'm tired. I've been on vacation, Dan. I haven't even spoken English all that much for a change. That's really weird. I'm trying to remember words that just came out. There was a point in time during the regular season where I had an argument with my wife, not a fight, an argument. And all of a sudden, she told me, "You do know you've been speaking English to me for the past 20 minutes, right?" I was like, "What?" And I just switched over. And now I'm having a hard time switching over to actual English. I think my mind and my brain just needed the time off. So I appreciate that.
Good for you. So anyone who doesn't know that Mort doesn't live in America, he's from West Vermont. So the western part of Vermont. So that's why he wasn't speaking English. I'm just kidding. We're glad that you got a break. I will say I have one complaint about the background is it feels like you're now adding layers to the equation. Not only are you wearing more clothes, but now you've actively put more clothes behind you. It kind of ruins the OnlyFans mystique of it all. So that is my one complaint.
I know. It's been windy today, so it's been very, it's tempered weather, which I greatly appreciate because, it's just been so warm. We came back from Spain a couple weeks ago as well. It's been a hot summer. So for me to actually have it a little bit cool was nice, but I did know that by wearing a polo shirt, I would disappoint you greatly. I did know that, and I feel bad about it, Dan. So after the show is done, I'll show a little something.
Thank you. And look, I might get hot and bothered anyway because before I jumped on, our central air kind of was doing something finicky. All I can say is that thousands of dollars well spent within the past 18 months on something that's a little bit finicky. That's not why people are here to talk. We're going to go alphabetically through the Western Conference. The one rule I set that I didn't tell Mort about, but I'm sure that he could have guessed it based off the list I sent him, is we by and large, unless I just didn't really find anything else interesting, we're steering clear of the rookie extension business. The Christian Brown, the Keegan Murray, those dudes, we want to see if they get deals, but a lot of times that doesn't really happen until training camp comes back anyway. So we're going to try and focus on other parts of unfinished business.
And yet you have penciled in Tari Easton to talk about with the Rockets.
As an honorable mention with the Rockets.
Okay.
So that was not the main squeeze, as you will see.
All right.
Let's get started, though. We begin with the Dallas Mavericks, Mort.
Yeah.
This one, speaking of almost training camp opening, PJ Washington can sign an extension. I think it's now. So for anyone who's listening, cap projections get a little weird. I'm just basing it off 7% projections. I know everyone else has 10% baked in, but I'm an alarmist by trade. So it went up 7% this year. That's what I'm penciling it in for the future. It can be 4 years, $86, $87 million. Can't sign it, I think, until August 29th. The Mavericks are one of the most fascinating teams in the league, more just when you look at the Kyrie Irving injury. They have Cooper Flagg, they have Anthony Davis, they're huge, they have enough offense. What are you doing if you're the Mavs about the PJ Washington extension or just PJ Washington in general?
Look, PJ is not an old guy. He's 26, about to be 27. I think he is one of those very crucial players that you need when you have an old team. And this is a team that's trying to balance the development of Cooper Flagg and Derek Lively. Let's not forget about Derek Lively. But at the same time, yeah, right. And you're still playing a ton of minutes like AD, Kyrie when he comes back, Klay Thompson, right? Like there, even Caleb Martin, who's only 30, I think, but he plays like if he's 34. So I'm just gonna count that.
So
Like they have this core of old players, and sometimes you just need in prime guys to sort of like bridge that gap. I think the age gap, and that makes PJ Washington so crucial because he's not on decline. He's not necessarily on his way up. Like you can probably expect a very similar level of production as last year, and he was good last year. I think he was one of those guys who flew under the radar a little bit. When Luka got traded, obviously that was all the hoopla there. Then they win the flag lotteries. So like those have been the primary storylines driven out of Dallas, with PJ sort of flying under the radar. Yeah, I would probably try to extend him. The number is what's curious, right? Because we've seen a lot of veteran extensions where we're kind of going, oh, like the player didn't get as much as we might have expected. And that's one of those consequences of a first apron, second apron situation. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, PJ Washington should get like 20, 25 million a year, because I have no idea what the market is trying to like peg him at. If he walks away with like 16 million a year, I would feel that was low, but that is the world we might be living in. So the actual number is going to be pretty hard for me, at least, to try to project.
yeah, so he's eligible. This is what's getting really freaky is that you look at his salary that he signed for as a restricted free agent with Charlotte. It's below the league's average, and so he's eligible for that 140% of the league's average salary extension.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know if he hit the open market this summer, would he have gotten for 90? I don't know, just because of how few teams had cap space. But I think next summer, when you look at maybe a half dozen teams or more, maybe having the ability to offer that, I think 4 for 86, 87 is probably more than reasonable. And if I'm the Mavs, I am going to offer maybe not the full 4 years. Maybe you go 3 years out on that might be the way. But I think, look, especially this season, if you're looking to do something, when you don't have Kyrie Irving until January, February, whatever it ends up being, and you have Cooper Flag developing,
Right.
he is someone who, aside from Anthony Davis, aside from D'Lo, who in theory is, maybe not create his own shot, but maybe punish some mismatches, do things as a driver. He's like I think you can make the case that despite their size, despite their defensive ceiling, he's more important to them this season than he's been the previous, year and change that he's been with them.
I have a question for you about.
I probably don't have an answer, but ask away.
I think you might have an idea, because we all know about AD insisting upon I'm a 4, I'm not a 5, all that. Like PJ has primarily played the 4, a little bit of 5, very little bit of 5, but like primarily 4 throughout the course of his career. Is this one of those situations where the Mavs should just basically say, well, you know what, Anthony, it's positions are meaningless. It's fine. And just play him at center anyway. Or should they try to put PJ down a slot? Because that I would feel not great about PJ as a 3, where he has to run around and chase, quicker athletes. I think he's fine. I think he's a perfectly fine defender. But I do wonder if you make it his full-time gig to chase 3 men or big shooting guards, for example, and have him run around screens. I don't think you're going to get the best version of him. So, like, how to solve that?
So I actually don't worry about that as much, especially if you're going to have Anthony Davis plus Gafford or Lively as a backstop for him.
Right.
I think we saw a good amount of it last season anyway. But I think what you touch on that I find fascinating is you are leaving, to me, a lot of meat and potatoes on the table if you are saying, oh, Anthony Davis is going to be a 4, because you need to get to lineups where it's not just AD and PJ Washington, but it's like AD and then Cooper Flag is your 4. Because I think that's where Cooper Flag might do a lot of his damage too on offense. So I'm totally in agreement with the point there for you. I think with PJ specifically, though, kind of whatever version of the lineup you want to see, he might need to be the de facto 3, though. When you look at them, like in the minutes, okay, where there's only one big and Cooper Flag on the bench, sure. But like, I'd be shocked, or I won't be shocked, but I'm assuming some injuries have gone down in Dallas if we see like any PJ Washington at the 5 this year, though. That's for sure.
Agreed. That would be weird. It's just like I feel like they're a little top heavy, so I just want to see how this shakes out.
I don't know, they're kind of sneaky deep. Like, and
Oh,
especially in the
sorry.
front
When I
court.
meant top heavy, I meant like the big positions,
Oh.
the top position. Sorry, that was a very
Well, 'cause
bad wording on my part.
Well, it's also just like Najee Marshall is what? Like, like they are so. I think you could get to
Yeah.
lineups where just like there's no point. Like it's Cooper Flag, and then everyone's just it's like it's
Yeah.
Najee Marshall and PJ, and then AD, and then whatever big you want. I don't know what that looks like offensively, but I think defensively that could be an absolute terror. So we're both in agreement. He should get an extension. If you had to predict before we move on, do you think he signs one? Or let me say this: I'm gonna set the over under that he gets a 3-year or a 4-year extension. Would be my prediction.
I'm actually just gonna say under right now. I hope I'm wrong though, because I like PJ. PJ should get paid. He's a good player, but maybe the Mavericks are looking at this situation and going, "Yeah, we need to make sure that that position is clear for us moving forward because of Flag." Now,
Good point.
you could just extend him and then trade him later, though.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up is that if you're
Yeah.
the Mavericks, are you reticent to extend him now because then he wouldn't be if you're giving him more than that 20% raise. So maybe that's the middle ground is do you just try and offer the 120% so that you could still trade him this season? Otherwise, if he's signing at August 29th, he won't be trade eligible this season and we don't know. I'm not saying Dallas needs to go out and make a blockbuster move, but he's one of their best assets as both a player and an expiring contract if they want to go do anything on the trade market.
Well, honestly, do you really need to trade him this year in that case? Like, you could make a reasonable argument that he could spend the entire year in Dallas and then you could just flip in the summertime.
Legend fanboy 101, PJ to the Lakers. I mean, if they want to trade for LeBron James, he'd be like a nice salary slot to shoot. That's the only way I would think that happen. I don't think LA is going to give Dallas another first round pick for PJ Washington. But
Right. Yeah.
that's also they don't need the Lakers don't need PJ. Like as long as LeBron and Luka, like PJ Washington's not someone, and Rui is there. They don't need him.
Nope, they don't.
Next up, because we're going alphabetically, is the Denver Nuggets. So I kind of have two questions for them because one, I don't think people are going to appreciate except for maybe Mort. Are they going to duck the tax? We'll start here, Mort, before the offseason is over. They have until the end of the year to do it, but just based off what Spotrac has this at, it looks like because of Cam Johnson's, not strictly because, but because of his likely contract incentives, they are going to be a little bit into the tax. Like right now, it's like
about
$400,000.
$400,000.
Yeah. So is that something you just duck now to get it over with? They also were, and hat tip Ryan Blackburn, I think he did it at Locked On Nuggets for pointing this out, because of the way they did the Valanciunas trade with him going into a trade exception, they're actually not hard capped at the first apron. Now, I think that's a lot of like all pomp, no circumstance type deal where I don't expect them to actually, I think they're going to duck the tax eventually. I think that's what they're going to do.
Yes.
But they do have a lot of different ways that they could go because of the way they did structure their offseason.
Right. So what we have to remember here is this isn't just a payment of, so what would their tax bill be? Like $1 million, 1.2 million, something along those lines, according to Spotrac. That is not the full calculus. The full calculus is what you're giving up in not getting in from tax-paying teams, right? Like that. So what would that be? Like 11, 12 million that you would get in by just not being a tax team? That is ultimately the big math thing. I don't think I've ever seen a team that's like $400K over the tax line who just didn't dodge it. But I do have a theory.
That's the
here.
Pelicans area where it's just like they're like always
Right.
$5 million or less, like away from or into the tax. Doesn't it always feel that way?
Oh, that's a good point, though. Yeah.
They actually, and I think as we record this, the Pelicans might be like $5.5 million below the tax line, so that actually fits.
But like, I do have a theory. Because last year Deron Holmes didn't play. Obviously, was it the ACL or was it an Achilles?
Achilles. He had the Achilles.
Oh God, that was the worst one.
He looked good in summer league though.
Yeah. So if he gets regular minutes, that's when I think you're trying to see if there is a taker for Zeke Naji. And like I have this sneaky suspicion that they're actually going to try to place Zeke early on in the season, just to see, like, can he just produce for a few games? Like, can he string together games where he produces at a certain level? Not to, like, oh, let's make him part of a rotation, but, like, are there any takers? Like, anyone? Anyone on the line? Anyone? Bueller? Come on, go get him.
So one, to add on to what you were talking about as part of their calculus, the other thing they're thinking about with the tax is this is just another year where it doesn't start the repeater clock. And so if they're
Mhm.
looking to kind of
Right.
stay out of the tax, like that's a big deal. So they are going to
Yeah,
duck the
that's a good
tax.
point. Yep.
What they could do is waive and stretch Zeke Naji by, I think it's August 29th is the date this year. So they would just have like 3 point something million dollars on their books for the next 7 years. Then you comfortably duck the tax. I would be vehemently against that. I just don't,
Yes.
I know it's a small amount, but as look at what we're talking about right now. These thin
Right.
margins matter, especially for these really good teams. I want to ask you. I
Yeah.
think Nuggets fans would be against this, but I'm curious if even the team that I'm suggesting it would be for this. Would you consider doing something like Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji for just Io DeSunmu? Is that enough for the Bulls to say we'll take on the rest of Zeke Naji? Peyton Watson's in a contract year as well. I think Watson's the higher upside player, but I think Io DeSunmu is better right now.
Yes.
He will probably
Right.
be cheaper in his next contract as well. Who do you think says no to something like that? As that
So
being the
Sieg Nash and Peyton Watson for Io.
yeah.
That's like the Bulls take on a bunch here, right?
I mean, they take on it's like 10 million versus 7 million or whatever it ends up being, or
All
maybe it's
right.
12 million versus whatever. You could game it to make the math work. But the Zeke Naji, like this year, they even after they re-signed Josh Giddey, the Bulls should have a
Right.
ton of wiggle room under the tax. It's do you want 3
Right.
more years of Zeke Naji on your
What
books
you're really doing here, you're actually paying the Bulls Peyton Watson
to get off Naji, but also to get Io DeSunmu?
Right, exactly. I don't hate that. I don't. I will say Peyton Watson is still intriguing to me. He really is.
Fair.
And I think the jury has been a little premature in just saying that he's not a guy. Like I do like Io, don't get me wrong. And next to Jokic, I think he'd be a lot of fun. He'd also be insurance, well, a little bit of insurance if Jamal is like inconsistent over a stretch of the regular season. Like you can sort of say, okay, we need consistency at the point guard position. Let's move Jamal a little bit more to the 2 over the next couple of games where he's not handling the ball as much, where his play isn't as dynamic. So there are some interesting parts there. Peyton Watson is a big name though. Like if you could somehow convince the Bulls of doing it with someone else, maybe Strother, that could also be interesting.
I mean, you could offer your 2032 second still. So if that plus
true.
Strother is on the table, I mean, they're taking on less money in that scenario too. But I don't like. I was a really good player. My other question was like, or move that they might need to address is, do you think they need another backup, like a backup point guard or a backup ball handler here, or do you think just the combination of, okay, Jokic exists, we can run some stuff through Aaron Gordon, we have Jamal Murray, we have Bruce Brown. Do you think that's just it's enough to be a good team? Don't get like the Nuggets are going to be no worse than the second best team in the West. I think maybe third, depending on how you feel about the Rockets.
Right. So the addition of Bruce Brown to me unlocked a ton because like he knows a lot of these guys. Like there's a level of comfort there. I think he's a better ball handler than people, making it out as, and that's because over the past 2 years he went for the bag, and that's fine. Like I don't think we should at any point blame him for going for the bag, but he did, and we never really saw like the Bruce Brown that we saw during the championship year in Denver. I think with him coming back, we're going to be reminded, oh, this guy is good. This guy can do a bunch of things. And I wouldn't even rule out Strother if they keep him around as another guy who can handle the ball. Like not as someone who's like a table setter and like will average 7 assists or something, but he's pretty decent on the ball as well. Like he can dribble the ball up the floor. He can initiate some of like the simple stuff. Like he can throw an entry pass. He can do some of those things. Like I think they have enough. Oh, did we forget about Jalen Pickett? Like he's still around,
Well,
right?
I mentioned him.
Oh, you
he
did?
had
Oh, sorry.
some moments last year, and I do find
Yeah.
him more intriguing than Tyson. I think so. I'm going to be fine with them standing pat if that's what they do. If you told me that
Right.
they're going to use Strother like that, if they're going to give Christian Brown some more opportunity on the ball, I think I like that idea of the experimentation.
Right.
If that's not necessarily their plan, they do have Valanciunas too. Like you can run some stuff through him. This still feels like this doesn't do anything for their tax situation, but they could do it. This feels like a really good Malcolm Brogdon team to me.
Oh, that could
like
be fun. Yeah.
So something like that. It doesn't even have to necessarily be the trade, But I think I would like to. Maybe it's you go through the season and then you look at the buyout market when that happens. But I think that I don't know. I find buyout additions tend to be overrated. I'll even be guilty of romanticizing them, but so do minimum signings. So I'm sitting here, oh, like Malcolm Brogdon could be the answer. You can't guarantee him a huge role. I think I'm just lower on the Bruce Brown show than you because, like, from what I saw of him these past 2 seasons, and I know he was injured a lot.
Right.
I just, man, I don't, and he doesn't need. I think people are going to focus on the shooting. He's already shown he doesn't need to hit the three ball to be an impactful player. But I'm not sure that they're getting the Bruce Brown that they had in 2023. And so I think it's fair for them to sit here and say, look, that was a minimum contract. We're going to wait and see how that pans out. And that's totally fair. The expectation shouldn't be through the roof anyway. The value is never going to be bad. But that's why I kind of find myself, unless you think Pickett is ready or you want to see, I didn't even think about Julian Strother, to be honest with you. That's a good call out. But unless you think he or Christian Brown is capable of shouldering more, but I can also see how you might feel as the Nuggets. Well, like Valanciunas also allows you to paper over some stuff by being able to run things through him.
Yeah, they have a lot of options here. I'm not terribly concerned about anything. I do have one question before we move on. Technically, if they were to waive and stretch Hunter Tyson, would that achieve going under the tax?
So I mean, yes, but I don't know if it would. They would probably have to sign like a 0-year rookie with experience to like kind of. I'm trying to like. Oh, I think you want to get because they have 13 guaranteed roster spots. Oh no, they have 14. Excuse me.
Yeah, 14.
So like, if you did, so what's 2 over 3 he's owed? So that's like,
yeah, it would get you.
True. You'd only have like $350K left to fill that out. So I think that
you couldn't do that.
Do you think that there'd be a team that would just take Jalen Pickett or Hunter Tyson and then you can sign a rookie with 0 experience and that's like you save like $1.2 million that way.
That would actually be interesting.
$1.2 million. I'm sorry.
No, but like there should be some teams that are like a couple years into the rebuild. Like we've seen the Wizards just be like, "Oh, you're gonna just give us Malachi Branham more or less." Yeah, we'd be down for that. Like
not Blake Wesley though. Bye, Blake Wesley. Bye.
Right, true. Oh no, he went to Portland, but like the Wizards are one of those teams who are like willing to take gambles right now. So why not?
Yeah. A couple questions here. Jason Timpf rated Jamal Murray as a top 25 player in the league. Do you agree?
Wow. Okay. Like, I don't think I have like a top 25, like just instilled in my brain right off the bat here. Like the optimized version of him is like easily top 20, like easily.
Wait, you think Jamal Murray's easily top 20?
No, when he's like optimized, like the optimized version, right? Like when we were seeing him on.
Let's rank NBA players based off their optimized for where they would rank. Like if Ben Simmons had a 3-point shot during his
not that. Not theoretical upside. Like
I get
what?
Right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. Like okay, so for example, like before the ACL tear, right? For Jamal. That wasn't an Achilles. I think that was the ACL. Like before the ACL, the year before, like 2021, like where he was headed before he had the ACL tear, I'd feel pretty comfortable if we took that version of him and put him into today's league. We're looking at a top 20 guy. Like he was so influential. It was crazy.
Can he be? I don't know. This season would have been rough too. I'm not staring at the list, so like this just feels disingenuous. My gut reaction says no. On balance,
now. Probably now.
In the playoffs, like if you just ranked everything he's ever done in the playoffs, he might just be by that. We have a couple other Nuggets questions. This is why I love the live streams. Could they just trade Jamal Murray to the Bulls? That is from Hind. I mean, they could, but for who do you want from the Bulls?
Yeah, right.
Murray?
Oh wait. Okay, let's switch up. Yeah, that's
Patrick Williams. Are you right? They want the Patrick Williams flyer.
We always do Bulls trades for some reason. So that's 46 million outgoing. What are we looking at? What are we giving?
What are you signing and trading for Josh Giddey? That better not be what.
No, God, no. We want Denver to be fun.
I don't know that Chicago. I mean, they have. You don't want Isaac Okoro, Io for sure, but that's $7 million. Like, what is the other 30 that's like coming out of there?
All right.
You want one of their youngsters? Would the Bulls be a team that'd be like, hey, here's Modest Buzelis in the Jamal Murray trade?
They're dumb enough, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even think like Jamal Murray's so important to Denver. Like that's
yeah.
I mean, I
No,
guess
no,
you could say,
I think the people who like are looking at him and basically saying, "Look, you're a negative asset." That's just a bridge too far for me. Like we can talk about him being overpaid, sure. I'll talk about that all day long. But like people are reaching this point where like, how could they dump him? And I'm just like, really, really? That's where we are with
well,
Jamal.
the one I had brought up, and I
Mhm.
think some Nuggets fans hated it, some found it interesting. Would you trade? There'd have to be other moving parts. But if you're the
Right.
Nuggets, would you trade Jamal Murray for LeBron James? Like, do you appreciate the flexibility that comes with James's expiring contract?
And while he's still like LeBron, and he'll
Yeah,
still be
LeBron-ish,
impactful.
LeBron adjacent. You
LeBron-ish,
could
yeah,
even say.
LeBron adjacent, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't see why not, because you'd have, like you said, the future financial flexibility. Like, I don't understand why the Lakers would do that. Like LeBron or Jamal and
Luka and Jamal
Luka.
Murray be pretty wicked on. I mean, the thing about Jamal Murray, for all the
Yeah,
criticisms, and there are many, he's shown that he can play off of all these different off of Jokic
this
for
is
sure.
true. No,
But
no,
like,
yeah, like he's not a point guard to me. He's like remember how he came into the league like as a fully blown two guard, and he was kind of pigeonholed into the one. I mean, I returned to
all
the
I
two.
remember
Wouldn't
is
be,
that he could have been drafted by the Knicks. They would have traded him promptly, but that Melo
yeah,
trade was the
sure.
trade. CMB is garbage. I feel attacked because I like Colin Murray Boyles. Dan, can you admit that the Nuggets are overrated? Porter is better than Cam. Bruce is wash. Jonas is bad at defense. Tim is bad at defense, and I don't trust Murray anymore or Brown to make shots. So I
Whoa,
think
stop. You don't trust Christian Brown to make shots. Did you see his field goal percentage last year?
yeah, especially with Jokic off the court, he shot like 60% on twos.
Like
I
this
love that your
dude was
hands are still up.
right. Like that one bothered me. Like he was one of the most efficient like perimeter players in the league last year. What are we talking about here? Like
I
that's
don't think the Nuggets are being overrated. I do think, and I've actually gotten a little too, I think I've gotten too defensive, and part of this about the Nuggets offseason, I think it's being overblown. And I've gotten in some arguments with fans, which mostly my fault, need to keep my emotions in check sometimes better. I
just
haven't
don't
liked the
interact with fans outside of the point of the
I like
podcast
interacting
atmosphere.
with people, but I've been a little over the top of the Nuggets. I think because, and this isn't fans' fault, I
Uh-huh.
don't like the way it's being spun with the flexibility. Like, you could have signed Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. without making, they were minimum contracts. I've seen it framed too much that, like, oh, this opened up the, no. Like, those players could have came for that price anyway. I'm not a fan of, like, now they can sign guys on the buyout market making more than the mid-level. You don't get to say that until they do it. And you also could have done that. Like, you can do that in the offseason, regardless of what apron you're in. Like, that was one of the loopholes. So I think I just haven't appreciated the framing of it. I think the Nuggets offseason was more than defensible, bordering on, I think they're a better, deeper team. I
Mhm.
still need to see, like, I've dug more into the Cam Johnson fit versus Cam Johnson versus Michael Porter Jr. I would still maintain that the apex of Michael Porter Jr. is going to be better or more valuable than Cam Johnson, but we don't know. Like, Michael Porter Jr. was very rarely, if ever, at that apex,
Right. I was
especially over
about
the
to
past
say
2 years.
that's the you're talking about optimized versions.
Well, look, I think that's my whole thing. Is just like I might be wrong about. I don't think they had a bad. I think what it all comes down to is I
Mhm.
believe if I was trading my unprotected draft pick 7 years into the future, I would have wanted more of an immediate bump than going from Michael Porter Jr. to Jonas Valanciunas and Cam Johnson. That's just where I land on it. People are free to disagree, but I'm seeing some, maybe the Nuggets don't have defense in the chat. I'm not going to throw all them up here. There's a lot of comments. We've talked about this. I came away from the playoffs last year, like, kind of more sold on what Denver can do defensively
Right.
than
Yeah.
offensively. And so I think Jonas Valanciunas fits that. I think the Cam Johnson self-creation stuff, I think that's a little bit overblown. I don't think I don't think they're going to rely on him for that. And I don't think that that's ever been his, like, forte. I
Right.
think it'll help that maybe he'll have, like, you see some of the defensive matchups he's going to be going up against. Like, maybe that's what I'm not like properly valuing enough. I think I think it's more of a discussion where people have seen, like, I've seen A+ offseason, it was perfect. I just think there's more of a discussion to be had. That's all I'm saying. If this is, and I'm also not a fan
You're
of,
just
well, now
asking questions. That's what you're doing. You're
I'm
just
not
asking
even, yeah,
questions.
I guess I'm expressing doubts. But if you believe
All
that
right.
they wouldn't have kept Christian Brown had they had Michael Porter Jr. on the books, then yeah, look, that's fair. I would call that maybe cheaping out a little bit. Also, we don't know what
Correct.
he's going to get
Yeah.
paid. Like, maybe he'll get extended. Again, rookie extensions aren't a part of this discussion. I think their offseason was we haven't done our grades yet. I'm sure I'll grade it semi-favorably, but I think there's been a disconnect to what my actual view on the Nuggets offseason is because I find myself pumping the brakes on, like, I mean, look, even Rome 8180 in the chat where it's like, yeah, Bruce Brown healthy and back with Jokic. There's just a lot of questions here is all I have.
No, that's
So,
fair.
anything else on the Nuggets from you more?
No,
We said 5 minutes per team. We're off to.
that's why I said no, Dan.
Well, there's not much new to add here. We get to the Warriors. So Mort, what happens with Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency?
So I've actually written about this over at Forbes. I think so. Stay with me on this. I understand that the Warriors are like, oh, we don't want to pay you $30 million a year because we might get stuck with that contract and with the cap being projected to 7% increase next year instead of the expected 10. What are we going to do about it? My take has been shut up. Just shut up. What the hell? Like this guy.
Wait, who do you want to shut up?
The Warriors. Look, he's what, 22. He's hyper athletic. You know, he's extremely productive. I understand the fit isn't great. I understand there are questions about him as well because it's a two-way street. Like this isn't just on him. This isn't just on Steve Kerr. Both of those guys have made errors over the course of their 4 years together. But like, if the Warriors do want to give Steph, you know, the last few years of being competitive, then, you know, toying with this situation too much, playing with your fruit too much, that's a bad tactic. Because here's the thing: Kuminga has the qualifying offer of $7.9 million. If he takes that, he's gone in 2026. And you just extended Jimmy Butler. You're still paying Stephen Curry through the nose. Draymond Green is also earning a pretty penny. Like, there are a lot of dollars on those books. So you can't go out in free agency in 2026 and go, oh, we'll just find a replacement for Jonathan Kuminga on the minimum market. No, that doesn't exist. That is a very, very bad strategy. So my take is, pony the F up and then trade him if that's what you need, because then you can at least get something back. Are you really that afraid that a guy next year at the age of, a very advanced 23 will have no trade value? Like, who are you kidding? I'm not saying pay the man, $30 million, but apparently they've offered him 2 years, 40, which is like, so like split the difference. Give him like 4 years, 100.
That's not like splitting the difference.
No. But like the annual, you know what I mean? Like 20 to 30, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, no, I hear you. But you know what I mean, though? Like on the annual salary, like $25 million a year. Like if you're scared to do that, if you're the Warriors, you're just not thinking long term. I'm sorry.
I think I agree to some extent, but I also disagree to where it's like, what is he? I don't like if he's not. Here's the problem. You already said he's not a great fit.
For that roster, yeah.
Right. He's not going to be a better fit overnight next year, so there's a chance his trade value on his next deal declines. And so you are taking a big risk. Now, you could, if you wanted to say, like, if it was 3 for 70, and then let's say there's a team option on the third year, maybe that's a way to get this done, and then I would be totally in favor of that. But I don't look at, like, Jonathan Kuminga has the upside of a fringe all-star. I will recognize that when you look at his offense.
Right.
But there's just
and several teams will talk themselves into that. That's my point.
You don't find it to be like a little red flaggy, though, that it wasn't just like what were the offers for him around the trade deadline, or that he wasn't critical to like getting the Jimmy Butler deal over the hump? Then that's like, I'm skeptical as to what team, and like you could say other teams will talk themselves into it. What are these other teams, like they're like the Nets, who had all this cap space and have room for upside? Like they haven't seemed like they're interested in Kuminga. The Jazz have that huge trade exception. We haven't heard them as like a destination getting involved with Kuminga.
Did you see who the Nets drafted in the first round? Do we trust their talent evaluation right now?
I mean, what is that?
I was being a little bit of a smartass with that one, but Jesus, I hated their draft. I hated all that. So I'm not putting that much stock into the Nets going, well, we don't really want Kuminga.
I guess my other point, though, is just like, so we know the Kings might be interested in Jonathan Kuminga, and that doesn't prove anything. It's the Kings.
Right.
So I think I understand both sides of the argument where Jonathan Kuminga fancies himself a future all-star, and I think that confidence is important. I think he's shown that upside, but there's too many holes in his as a shooter as a
Correct.
passer, as
That's
a
the thing.
rebounder,
Yep.
as a defender. And so I understand what the Warriors are doing here. Now, I don't really like seeing players get squeezed. That's also just how restricted free agency is litigated. Like that's why it's set up
Right.
the way it is. If maybe one of these like CBA negotiations that'll be talked about more. Um, wow, Curry clears Kobe. I'm a Warriors fan. I want to trade him to the Bulls for Io, Jalen Smith, and second round picks. I mean, that's like more.
I don't hate
more.
that.
I don't hate that either. But if you're shaking your head to that, you can't tell me then that Jonathan Kuminga is like a $25 million a year player if that's the return that you're willing to accept.
Well, no, look, what I'm saying is there are plenty of teams out there who suddenly have to change or pivot in the way. Like, remember, the way the teams are structured right now, like some teams are rebuilding and some are retooling and some are trying to be competitive. Those teams are not locked into being in that same state 12 months from now, or even 11 months from now, or even 10 months from now, or even at the trade deadline. So
Right.
at some point, teams are going to pivot. Some teams are going to be like, well, we need something. Like we always know in the middle of the season, there's one team, two teams, three teams that are like, we could really use something. We could really use a young scoring punch. Lo and behold, here's Jonathan Kuminga, now trade eligible and right there for the taking. I understand the skepticism of why weren't there more offers for him, last trade deadline. I'll tell you why, because his restricted free agency was looming and teams just did not want to get into that. Remember how teams are always more inclined to trade for guys when they know what the salary is. They are less inclined to go out and trade for guys when they don't know what the salary is. As soon as they know what Kuminga is going to earn, they're going to sit there and say, oh, he's either super cheap. Oh, we have him pegged as being more expensive than what he really is. So, let's go get him. I think if they sign him to $25 million a year, or if it's even better, if it's like 23 or 24, and even better if it's on a flat rate, Dan. This is something you and I have talked about before. Like the flat rate, that moving forward, that's probably a big argument for a lot of teams. I would be shocked if you didn't have like 5 or 6 teams standing in line going, yeah, we want to be in the Jonathan Kuminga's business.
Interesting. Honestly, I think that they should get done with like a 3-year deal, and then the latter is I would honestly say I think the Warriors have the leverage to get a team option. I'd be willing to give him more money to keep, like maybe it's 3 for 75 even, but the third year is a team option, just because the Warriors to me are taking on more of the risk here, just because there might always be teams that are talking themselves into Kuminga, but they might be talking themselves into Kuminga at a cut rate because he hasn't performed up to snuff in Golden State. And I know everyone can point to...
Two-way street, though. Two-way street.
But I'm just saying, like, people like to look at his average when he plays more than 30 minutes per game, and it's like he would have more of those 30-minute games if he was more consistent on the stuff they need him to do.
Right.
Like, they don't necessarily need another on-ball scorer right now. Maybe the rim pressure, sure, but, like, when it comes at the expense of, like, playmaking and maybe shooting, and you've taken a different direction, I think I understand both sides of this. I ultimately think it's going to get done with like 3 years and then probably a team option. I don't even know that I would guess. Like, do you think the average annual value is going to be 23 or higher? That's the number you just threw out?
What I think is it's going to be lower than that. What I think would be fine is if it's higher than that. But yeah, like I just wanted to wrap that up because when you're trading for Jimmy Butler, and when you also have Draymond Green, I appreciate that shout in the comments.
Well, I'd like to interject.
Yeah.
MJ is also your initials. Is that you?
Oh,
in the chat.
I didn't even see the username. No. My initials will always be MSJ. By the way, always. Look, MJ. That was just too vague. So even as a kid, I was like, no, it got to be. MSJ.
I just thought it was some stealth. Like I would.
No, but I appreciate it. If someone went in there and just like created that account to make me look like a narcissist, good on you for doing that. That you went the extra mile to make me look like a damn fool. I appreciate that. No, but like Draymond, Jimmy, we know those guys aren't floor spacers, right? So like you're not exactly helping. I think we do. Like you're not exactly helping the young man. Like you're not exactly doing everything in your power to like give that guy, a good pathway to stardom.
And you know what? That's it. Unless you were planning, and I mean, they did play him at the 4, but like when you look at when you're playing Dre with Kevon Looney until Quentin Post came in there, it's not like you had a floor spacing quote unquote 5 to say, we can try and develop Kuminga as a 3. So that's fair. I don't think that they've necessarily done right by him, but really quick on the Warriors, do you guys know when we'll get the news on Horford and Melton, and where would you rank us if we if we do get them. You'll get the news on
Yeah.
Melton and Horford immediately after the Jonathan Kuminga business is done. That's what's holding it up. And I would think I
Do
probably
we
have
know the contracts on those? We don't, right?
it'll be the minimum for Melton is my guess. Then Horford's going to get the mini MLE.
Okay.
I would say that the Warriors with Horford, Melton, Steph, Butler, Kuminga, Draymond, Quentin Post is in there. They have Buddy Hield, Podziemski. That's like probably a top because who are the guaranteed top 6 teams in the West? I think you have Denver, Houston, OKC. Who else are you willing to throw in there? Is it the Clippers?
Well, yes. Also, but you're going to hate me for this because I'm going out on a limb on this one. I think I even said this on this show some time ago, and you were like, "I got the Spurs." Yeah.
I think they have an argument. I couldn't call them a lock.
No, well, that's fair. That's fair. I can't call them a lock either. My point is just, I think they're up there. I think we're ignoring them.
Do you think so? What do you think the locks are? Like, do you think it's those 4 that do the Timberwolves belong in there?
No,
you're not even saying the Spurs
the
are a lock, right?
The lock I have are OKC, Denver,
Houston, right?
Pending health, yes. Houston too. Yeah, those would be the locks, right? I don't think we can. Well, I mean, again, here's the thing: if they're healthy, and if we're just assuming health, then I'm also going to put the Clippers in there. But like, I just don't think you can assume health on any team that has Kawhi Leonard. I don't. And
you can kind of say the same thing on the Warriors with their age getting up there. But I think they're I would probably have the Warriors in my top 6. I don't know they would be among my 4 locks, but I would probably have them in my top 6.
That's fair. Wow, no New Orleans Pelicans, huh? All right.
Well, they might think they're going to be in the top 6 based on some of the stuff they've done. Speaking of the Houston Rockets, Mort. Kevin Durant, is he going to get when he gets an extension, how much will it be for? And can I give you my, I don't know if I'm overthinking this, but my thoughts on this are, as of right now, maybe there's other stuff that needs to get done. I would almost be alarmed if I'm a Rockets fan and he doesn't get an extension because it means that he might be because if he waits 6 months, it's like a difference of $2 or $4 million, whatever it is with the numbers. I think I have him at 2 for 119 now versus 2 for 122 if he waits. They should not be giving him the full boat. I just don't think that that's the situation you want to get into with the Rockets. And so if you wait, I just automatically default to, he's getting the 2-year max. Would that be your read on the situation too?
No, not necessarily, but okay. You know what? I'm going to defer to you on that because I have not thought about the extension minutia specifically for KD. I think when you reach a certain level and you reach a certain age, and when you're that type of guy, something just happens. You get the Jimmy thing, right? I'm getting the 2-year deal, whatever. Whether for him it's the full boat or if it's slightly below or whatever, I don't think he cares all that much. When we were talking about him about a month ago, how much had he earned over the course of his career?
It wasn't a Kevin Durant. It's not that I think that he cares, but I'm saying he might even be worth it or close to it. But it does make it a little bit more of a challenge, to juggle the rest of your contracts that are going to come due during this span. And I kind of always operate under the assumption that if he went to Houston and they traded for him, it was going to be something 2 years and $100 million. And I know we're only talking about the difference of $10 million a year, but again, what did we just talk about with the Nuggets before? Those thinner margins matter. And so I won't hate it, but I kind of thought, and he still can, by the way, I did kind of think that once he was traded there, that his extension was going to come in at less than the max. And if we end up not getting one before the season, I think that kind of proves it's not going to come in at less than the max is basically what I'm saying.
We'll see. I mean, look, if he gets the max, and yeah, I get that there are a lot of contracts now on the books moving forward. I'm still not a fan of the Jabari Smith Jr. Extension first and foremost. I thought that was a little too. Yeah, I'm not.
It's what is it, 12% of salary cap or something? What?
14 off the bat, but then it dips for a year, which that's the one part I do like. I'm just not sold on him yet. I actually would have waited that, but that's me. That's a more.
You worry he's going to take playing time away from Clint Capella? Is that what this is about?
No. I'm fearful that he's just not good enough. That's where we are. I'm not a Jabari Smith Jr. optimist yet. I'm going to give him all the runway to make me look like a damn fool this season, and I'd love to be wrong. You know me; I always want guys to be good. But my point is, you can pivot off guys if you need to. Like if Durant is like, oh yeah, look, I want top dollar, I want 2 years, no option, whatever. By the way, there's a age 38 rule that comes into play here, right?
Well, I think that's the 2 years.
That's the 2 years. Okay. Like you can pivot away from certain guys. Like, are we going to sit here and say you can't pivot off Dorian Finney-Smith if it becomes a thing? I don't know. But like, are we really at that point where we're concerned about the money in Houston? Didn't it feel like by just trading for Durant, you're like, okay, screw it, we're all in?
So here's my thing. It's again, if you don't put Kevin Durant on the books next year,
right?
They're like $57 million under the second apron as of right now.
Right.
That is basically with if Tari Eason, his cap hold would be $17 million. You add in Kevin Durant's max that year, which I think right now would be 57.9. You're all of a sudden into the second apron, and so yes, you can trim salary from there, but that's just a very fast track to be onto where you're that deep into the tax so suddenly.
Right? Yeah. No. I hear you.
Who are you going to give up? And they'll have moves to make. I'm not saying they have to trade Amen Thompson or anything ridiculous or Alperen.
No, Reed Shepard instead, right?
Whoa. You've gone too far. You've gone too far, sir. But so I'm not even saying it would be the wrong move. I find it a little bit, I thought an extension would be done by now is all. So I'm going to ask you this before we move on from the Rockets, since I don't think there's really new stuff to add here. I'm going to set the over-under at $50 million per year.
Oh, okay. So he takes a little less. Yeah.
Are you taking the over or the under on that? I'll say $50.5 million. If you think it's going to be 50 on the button, you get to go under.
You know what? KD doesn't seem to be that preoccupied about the raw number. He's not LeBron where he's like, yeah, I want the full max. It's a status thing. I'm actually going to say under because I think he's like, yeah, whatever, get it done.
I'm going to say over because I'm shocked that you said under, and I'm almost rooting for you to be right because the Rockets are going to set up to be fucking scary if you have KD making $10 to $12 million less than his max salary.
I just wouldn't be shocked. KD seems like a pretty you know how I understand he wants his money, but I also think he fully recognizes that this is about basketball, and he's one of those guys you can really say he just want to hoop, right? That's his mantra. That's the way he thinks, and he's 36 going on 37. I just if someone comes to him and says, hey, look, you want to earn $50 million. Well,
he also had that. I wonder if the experience with the Suns was kind of an eye opener to where they never really ran into the financial issues with the Nets. It was just they weren't healthy. But in Phoenix, they gave up basically everything to get him, and then shit just went so sideways that was because it never happened like that in Golden State either. So I wonder if that
I'm going to say under. Just also because I also want it to be. I also want to see players now who are in that salary bracket just go, you know what? That's a lot of money. We'll be fine. The raw dollar amount is okay with me.
My favorite conspiracy theory is that he will take exactly $12.5 million less over those 2 years than the max because that essentially makes up all of Steven Adams' salary. And so that him coming was Steven Adams returning was a condition of Kevin Durant coming and signing for less. So you got
that'd be nice. I like
Kevin Durant and Steven Adams for what Kevin Durant could have just cost you.
Oh, that's kind of romantic. I like that. That's cool. Yeah.
I'm a romantic at heart. You know this.
I know.
The Clippers, Mort, this isn't really a move, and they don't have to give us answers right now, per se. Who starts, / or even you want to say closes the most for this team?
Well, let's start out with the starts.
In July, but...
No, well, so Justin Russo, I had Justin Russo on my pod, and he's
good peeps. That is, no one does a better job covering the Clippers.
Right. He's a Clipper speed writer. He knows, and he said, look, Beal is going to start. So it's going to be in his... view, it's going to be James, it's going to be Beal, Kawhi, John Collins, and Zubac. So that's probably going to be the starting lineup.
Do you think I tend to agree, but do you think that they're veering so far away from what made them kind of special last year at that point, or do you worry about because now you're integrating? We're assuming Chris Paul gets minutes. Are you going to still try and fit Bogdanovich in there? It does feel like no matter what you do, one of Derek Jones Jr. or Chris Dunn is going to fall by the wayside, and what becomes of the defense? This might also just be a leap of faith in Ivica Zubac, who was on a lot of all-defense teams last year, but I found myself wondering if they've maybe I don't even say messed with too much, but it's just a question I have as to where did they kind of really veer away from what made them like endeared them, like made them good, but then also endeared themselves to everyone last year was that hellacious defense.
I mean, look, Beal, I think, is actually not as bad a defender as we think because, again, it's about when he was in Washington, he was averaging 30. He was carrying everything. Then he went to a very weird situation in Phoenix where I don't think his play was indicative of anything, really. Now you have Kawhi, you have James, you have John Collins. Those three guys can really get the scoring going. You have Bogdanovic off the bench. You have Chris Paul, who's going to take care of the ball and set guys up. You have a lot of scoring. You have a Brook Lopez who's going to pop threes and score near the interior. So, like, for Beal now, one, he can optimize his own shot profile, which, frankly, is pretty scary because that dude can shoot and that dude can score. But it also allows him to play a higher brand of intense defense, first and foremost. Like, I don't think Chris Dunn is going to be out of the rotation. I don't think Derek Jones Jr. are going to be out of the rotation. If anything, I think those guys are going to be huge players off the bench, and they're going to mix and match. They're going to probably run, 11 deep next year, which I really appreciate that they're pivoting into the depth part. And I think for them to be able to scale back and forth that way is such a luxury. Like, they'll have games where, we're going to need an extra pinch of defense. Hey, you know what? Like, CP, you're not going to play 28 minutes tonight. You're probably going to be playing 20, and we're going to give the rest to Chris. Or, like, you can sort of scale in and out that way. I'm not nervous. If anything, I like these upgrades a fair bit. I think this makes them better. I think they now have I think they have a little bit more sustainability in a way than before, where everything was always grit and grind. Now they also just have some talent, which allows them to occasionally coast a little bit in the best sense of the word, where they can just out-talent people sometimes or to out-talent teams sometimes, which I don't think necessarily was something they could do last year. So I'm all in on this team. I'm not worried.
I mean, I think worried is probably too strong of a word.
You were worried, Dan. I could sense it. You were sweating like a pig.
Miles Johnson says that Dunn literally got benched. I think they realized they need more offense. I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just you went into, okay, you brought Brook Lopez in, but you went into John Collins and Chris Paul and Bradley Beal. I'm just curious how they distribute the minutes from there. And I think, you're kind of betting, I guess, if you think you're going to be a top 5 offense versus you were a top 3 defense last year. And I just think there could be more drop off than people are crediting there. But if Kawhi's healthy,
maybe
Zubats has another year like he did, and they have, like you said, their margin for error is just higher now because even if they have injuries, they stretch so far deep. So I still really like them as a team. I'm just curious what they're, and also, by the way, anyone who says like the Bradley Beal, these were all good pickups, but like we just saw that Bradley Beal did try to adapt and it didn't work out in Phoenix. I guess we're all just kind of assuming that it's going to work in Los. I don't have a problem with that, but like it wasn't, it's different, I guess, but it's also like if Kawhi's healthy and James Harden is there and you are playing Chris Paul, it's like Bradley Beal's going to have to adapt again. So there were struggles there when he tried to do that. He still shot the ball really well. I think that's probably the biggest misconception about his time in Phoenix is he shot, what did he shoot last year? Like 39% on threes or whatever. This team's really good. I think that they should probably be a top 4 seed in the East, but I'm just curious how all the pieces come together.
You and I, we're usually aligned on a lot of things. I'm not aligned with you on the Bradley Beal thing here, where you said, he has to adapt again. Yeah, he has to adapt, but under so much better circumstances because he was sort of backing up Devin Booker in Phoenix because I don't know. I still don't know what the plan was in Phoenix to get a shooting guard in there when your best player was a freaking shooting guard. And like both of those guys, Beal and Booker, aren't exactly like fluid positional changers. Like they're primarily 2s. Like they're not, natural 3, natural 1. Here he slides right into that shooting guard role. So like, yes, you'll have to adapt to the play of James Harden, who's ball dominant. Yes, he'll have to adapt to Kawhi Leonard, but he'll have his own spot for once. Like there isn't going to be a lot of positional overlap like there was in Phoenix. And I think that's a big mental hurdle as well. Like, this guy has my spot. And like, I can't play around that to the best of my ability. Neither can he play around the same spot, which means we're sort of pigeonholed to being in that same positional situation. Here he's got that shooting guard on lock. That's great. That means that gives him a level of security, like emotional security about one spot. Then he can adapt accordingly.
I do worry that they might be, if that's the starting lineup you're outlining, I do worry that they might be putting too much on Kawhi defensively. I do think it helps offensively, though, that
That's
they
fair.
very clearly
Yes.
have tried to streamline what Kawhi does offensively, where in Phoenix you weren't necessarily trying to make Devin Booker or Kevin Durant a smaller part or a more streamlined part of your offense, where it's like Kawhi, it's like maybe they don't want him creating or dribbling as much.
Mm-hmm.
So Danielle Williams says the Clippers should bring back Amir Coffey and get Delano Banton. They have a roster spot, I believe, but my other question for them, I didn't think it was worth talking about, is they're like $7 million into the tax. This feels like a team that might be like, oh, does anyone want to take on Derek Jones Jr.? He might be a little too important, depending on how you feel about the defense.
He's too important. Yeah.
Maybe Chris Dunn, he doesn't get you all the way there. But Bogdan Bogdanovic seems like the odd man out. So it's like, can they get cheaper going from Bogdan Bogdanovic to, I don't know what the player is.
You think he's the odd man out? That's interesting. I'm not
well, how
there.
do you have Chris Paul and Bradley Beal and James Harden, and you're saying Chris Dunn's going to play? Where like
I'm not saying Chris Dunn is going to play a lot. I think Dunn is like the 11th guy. I think the secondary rotation is pretty. I can't sit here and say obviously, but like to me, it would right now it would appear as though Chris Paul, Bogdanovic, Nick Batum, Derek Jones Jr., and Brook Lopez would be like the secondary rotation, right? That feels like, and that's by the way. That's a sneaky good defensive secondary rotation, by the way.
Who do you have? Chris Paul, Derek Jones Jr.
So yeah. Let's start big to small. So Brook Lopez, Derek Jones Jr. Already there, you have two pretty good defenders. Then you have Nick Batum at the 3, also a very good cohesive like team defender. Then you go Bogdan, and then you have Chris Paul at the 1.
That's interesting. I'll be curious, and I guess there's going to be guys that miss games. I'd be curious to see when they're full strength how everybody gets staggered, or are they going to run like hockey style units? But that just lends itself to then you like Chris Dunn would be the odd, like that would be someone to trade if you're looking to cut your tax bill.
Well, that's the thing because you just said injuries, right? So I think Dunn is basically the injury security blanket. Like who because here like let's say Brook Lopez misses 2 weeks, right? Then in that secondary rotation, you just move Derek Jones Jr. up to center in those minutes. Like there is a lot of positional fluidity with a lot of these guys. Like I'm just not worried.
Again, I never use the word worried. Just asking questions.
All right, fair.
I actually do think that you're probably underestimating how much they would want to trade Bogdan Bogdanovic. The question of whether they can, because he has those 2 years I think left on his contract, so it's not just this year.
Yeah.
Does he have a player option, or that's not a team?
No,
option,
actually,
right?
that's a team option. No,
oh really?
1 year. Sorry.
All right. Yep. Well, then I think I could see him getting traded for like a cheaper player who helps them end up ducking the tax because then they'll have 2 because they were out of the tax last year, right? Or am I wrong about that?
I don't know. I actually like Bogdan.
No, I like him. There's a chance that if you have Beal and Harden, that he is a little superfluous here at that point.
Again, this is an old ass team. You said it. There are going to be missed games.
No, as Curry clears Kobe, Clippers should get more old guys. They're too young. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Get LeBron. Trade Yannick Conan Niederhauser for LeBron.
I actually like him.
Yep.
So the Lakers, I didn't want to spend like the Luka extension. He's either going to sign it or he's not. I would predict he signs a 3-year extension. So that's not something I'm too interested in. How do you see them using like their final? They have 13 guaranteed contracts. Like, what do they need to look for? What does this team still need when they're filling out the rest of their roster?
You brought up Malcolm Brogdon at one point. If he was to sign a mint deal, wouldn't hate that. Wouldn't hate that at all. That's a big guard who can play both sides of the ball. He can play the 1. He can play the 2.
But you have like Smart and Vincent and Luka and Reeves.
Right. I hear you. Do we trust that Marcus Smart is going to be healthy all throughout the year?
I do. It's funny when people sign with the Lakers, just how instantly inflated their reputation becomes, where it's like, yeah, Marcus Smart 3 or 4 years ago, awesome, but he hasn't played much basketball or much good basketball over the past 2 years. So
yeah. And like I fully concede that Brogdon himself is no pillar of health, but like, if you have another body to throw in there, I wouldn't hate it. So like that's one guy. I
You don't
haven't
think they
thought
need to
about.
get another big?
Sure. Who are you thinking?
I mean, like Chris Boucher is floating around out there.
Oh man, you just got an erection. Okay, yeah, I don't hate that.
Or what about? I've been kind of thinking that I don't. We've just been seeing it feels like more buyouts in the offseason. But like
Right.
Robert Williams III, if he ended up getting bought out by Portland, maybe there's even a trade to be had there when you just look at the
So
expiring
they would
contracts
pick
that
up
the Lakers
two
have.
Portland centers off the buyout market.
Well, they could also. I think Robert Williams III is like under 13 million or whatever, so they could actually trade for him. That would
They
be.
could.
That doesn't really fill their roster spots because I find myself looking at this team and thinking, okay, they have Ayton, that's clearly an upgrade. But like, do they need Maxi Kleber to be healthy next year? Like, that's when I'm looking at their big man rotation. What I find myself thinking.
Wait, so they're hard capped at the first apron and only have 1.1 million left to play with?
Oh yeah, you might be right about that. So they have to. That's not even enough for a 0-year rookie. I don't, unless I'm
No,
off
so
on their number.
actually,
of, roster
so
spots.
for whatever reason, I thought they were hard capped at the second apron. I was wrong on that. So that means they have significantly less salary flexibility than we thought they had.
Well, they need to figure out something there then because they're going to need to get to 14 roster spots
Yeah.
at some point. They only have 13.
Am I the only one who, like, look, I love Jared Vanderbilt, but like don't love him at 11.5 million?
I mean, I don't think anyone likes that contract.
Okay,
Except
good.
for
All
Jared Vanderbilt and his agent.
And his agent? Yeah, okay, great. Fair enough.
But I think I don't know. I think this team still needs like more of a wing and then another big. And that's, like you said, they're not too flexible. I can't believe I didn't realize they were hard capped at the first apron. My God, that's really bad by me.
Oh, relax. It's fine.
For
Jesus,
some reason, I
you're
could
so
have
harsh.
sworn they were on the. Because what did they use so smart? Oh, because they used. Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Should have seen that coming. Well, that's going to be rough stuff for them. Like, how are they creating this? Do they have just enough to sign a player with no years of experience, I guess?
That you
'Cause, like,
or there's a trade coming. Like Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber are both expiring. Like perhaps. Oh, they can aggregate. They can. Obviously, they're hard capped at the first apron, so they can aggregate. Yeah. All right.
I mean, good for them. They also, but like the other thing too, it just seems like they just had to get rid of Jordan Goodwin to make it. Like, couldn't you? Is it blasphemous to say that Jordan Goodwin is a more valuable defensive player, maybe at least at the point of attack right now, than Marcus Smart would be?
So that's rough. Like I get why you're asking that question. I don't think we've seen enough out of Marcus Smart these last couple of years to like be able to answer that question in full. But like in terms of availability, I think you have a point.
An availability, but I'm saying like so you think it's egregious to say just in a vacuum?
No. I say I'm literally saying we don't know right now because Smart. Like how much has Marcus Smart played over the past 2 years? I don't like.
He has not played a whole bunch.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So like we have really no idea of like what state his body is in, like his game.
Well, he's working out. I found that to be the most hysterical update is that he's working out over the offseason and taking it seriously, which my guess would be he has done every single offseason of his entire career, as long as injuries permitted as much.
Right.
But
So he's played 54 games in total over the past 2 seasons. Like, so I understand your question. I just don't have an answer for it because we literally haven't seen him.
So I think there's probably a trade coming with this team, would be my guess. It doesn't have to be a major one. Do you think Lucas signs his extension very quickly before we move on? Or signs an extension?
So, like in terms
here we
of
go.
what
Here's the Jokic conspiracy theory.
no,
inbound.
it
Everyone
actually
sit
is,
back.
no, it's worse than that, Dan. I think that he might sign it, but I don't think he should. Can I phrase it that way?
Can I ask why? He helped recruit Ayton and Smart. It seems like he might be
that's
pretty committed.
great. Eventually,
He's also got. Did you see? He's got like tricep definition.
I saw. I read that whole Men's Health article, and it was great.
I found it funny that they went out of their way to mention almond milk, which makes me think that like Luca was drinking like I don't know, like heavy cream, like during timeouts or something. Like I just don't understand why they went.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm not gonna say the name, there was a player in Danish basketball many years ago, and he was told to bulk up, and he started to drink like what do you call it, like whole milk, and like a lot, like a gallon a day, because that he thought that was the idea of bulking up, and he just turned fat, just
Well, I mean,
fat.
that when you bulk up, you're invariably going to gain body fat. Like this whole maintaining thing.
Yeah,
is,
but like that became like he started looking a little bit like me, which isn't a great thing. Like that was no, but okay. So my Luca thing, you shouldn't have said like, oh, here at the tail end of this one, because now I'm gonna open Pandora's box here. I don't think
hold
he
on,
should.
aggregators alert 104:59 is the
Right.
timestamp. You may aggregate this. Go ahead.
Okay, look, LeBron is gonna be 41 this season. There isn't like that secondary guy lined up. We like the Austin Reeves contract situation is not, resolved either. And is he really, good enough to be a secondary star on a potential championship level team? No. Is there a team out there who has like the ideal Luka Doncic pairing who could open up max cap space next summer by just making a few moves here and there, called the San Antonio Spurs? Yes, there are. So I'm just saying I probably wouldn't if I'm Luka. If that pathway to San Antonio is open for me, if I'm Luka Doncic next summer, I'm absolutely giving that a real hard look. There's not a better fit for me in the NBA if I'm Luka Doncic than Victor Wembanyama.
I mean, so you're just saying that the Spurs are not. I mean, that's going to step on the toes of what we talk about with the Spurs. But so the Spurs aren't keeping De'Aaron Fox. They're not signing him to an extension.
That would be the idea of it, like because the Luka extension thing is eligible first, right? Like
I think it's August 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah, and then Fox August 3rd or something along those lines. And basically, what I'm saying here is this, and maybe I'm just stealing away from the Spurs segment here. But if Luka signs an extension, I think the Spurs are like, oh, okay, that ship has sailed. Let's sign De'Aaron Fox to an extension. But if Luka doesn't sign it, the Spurs would be idiots to go out and sign De'Aaron Fox to one. I think that is a match that should be like they should be all in. The Spurs should be all in on the Luka experience. They should tamper the everlasting shit out of this to make sure Luka knows that, hey, guy, if you don't sign that extension, we are here for you in the summer. And we've got this Frenchman who's apparently 6'7" now.
6'7"?
All the way around.
Yeah, it's like he's shrinking. That might actually be a problem.
All right.
I'll let that marinate.
The English, man. Come on.
We'll move on to the Memphis Grizzlies. So, Mort, as we talk, he was eligible since, I think, July 6th.
Right.
John Morant can sign a 2-year extension worth about, it's like, what is it, 100 and, it's 2 years and 120 million almost. That would take him through his age 30 season, keep him on the books through 29, 30. My question to you is, we understand why players don't sign these extensions. I think now they feel more likely to, maybe because everyone's just extension eligible basically every 2 years, so you just keep locking up money, force a trade later. But if you're the Grizzlies, you've renegotiated and extended Jaren Jackson Jr., you've traded Desmond Bane. Are you offering John Morant this extension? Or the better question would be, should the Grizzlies offer John Morant an extension?
I don't think they should. But again, look, I also did not like the Jaren Jackson Jr. Renegotiate and extend. This is a larger question, which is really what do you expect? Like, where do you expect to land on a team that's led by John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.? Like, what is your aspiration level here? Are you okay topping out as a potential second-round team year in and year out with those two guys? If you are, cool. Like, more power to you. I think this is an uninspiring twosome. I don't understand why the Grizzlies keep being so infatuated with those guys. You have a lead guard who can't shoot. You have a big man who can't rebound, and you're about to pay them $100 million a year combined. I'm sorry, that is such a bad strategy. I'm so out on the Grizzlies if that is their continued belief that these two will suddenly break years-long career-long patterns and suddenly fill it in. Now, I realize the pushback to that is going to be, well, they win games, and that is true. They do win games. In the regular season, they do win games, and they do get to the playoffs off of those two. That is not inconsequential. That is a major boon. But you kind of want them to be more than just a regular season team. You want them to have playoff success and like sustained playoff success, deep playoff success. Are you going to have that with Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. as your two lead dogs? I consider me a skeptic.
That's what's tough when you factor in the availability with Ja too. Now, I think what's interesting here though is like think back to De'Aaron Fox before it all went to shit with the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
They offered him that 2-year extension when he was eligible with it, and it was just known that hey, he's not going to sign it. He's going to wait to sign a longer one. Turns out that didn't happen. Think about what we've kind of seen with Jokic right now in Denver. He's going to wait to sign a longer extension. I actually think it's smart that he didn't sign it because theoretically, he's the type of player, sign it now, you're extension eligible again in 2 years, you could sign another one. But if you don't even offer it, do you know what that says to me? Is that you're afraid he's going to accept it. And that's what would make this super intriguing here. Does that make any sense? Like, because you normally hear just, oh, it was offered, it just wasn't the right time for him. But if you don't offer it, it suggests that you're afraid he's going to accept it or that you're just not sold on him as your franchise centerpiece. So if we don't get any whisper that they offered it and he turned it down or the two sides agreed just to revisit it next summer, I'm just putting a pin in that. I'm clocking it.
Yep. Same.
Could you argue, though, or is this too ass backwards to say, if it takes him through his age 30 season, maybe he doesn't sign it. But, like, is it the worst thing in the world to, okay, like, we have Ja Morant, kind of a guard, super athletic. We have him locked up through his age 30 season. Now we know we don't have to go any further out if we continue to wait. Does that feel like maybe a sweet spot, or is it just, we've already seen, like, availability be too much of an issue here?
That's a really good point. That is a sweet spot. Because you kind of expect that's probably the age where he starts to decline physically, where the lack of let's just say it, the lack of a floor game is gonna turn him into like a Russell Westbrook adjacent player, which isn't a great news for the Grizzlies. So no, I don't think that would be an egregious plan. I do think it'd be egregious if they gave him, the full max without that extension. Like, what did you say he was eligible for? Was it 2 years?
About 2 and 120. I think it's a little less than that.
Hopefully, a lot less than that. I mean,
I think it's like in the 118s or something like that when you do the actual. Honestly, maybe I still think Trae Young is going to be like kind of the case study. I thought it was going to be Jaren Jackson Jr. by the way, but he renegotiated and extended.
Right.
I just think, and I might be wrong, but one of my hunches is that the bar for max contracts, especially like coming off that first one, like the rookie scale max, I think it's just going to be higher in the way that in this new CBA. And I know that some people think the aprons have been overstated, but I really think it's going to become like a bugaboo to where someone like a Trae or like someone who's just not a consensus top 15 player consistently year in and year out is not always going to have the max. Maybe it's top 20 out of like however you want to game it. But we've kind of yet to see that example in play. Maybe that'll happen again. Is Ja Morant a guy like that, or is it Trae Young? I honestly don't know, but I just have this suspicion that it's going to become more like the bar for it is going to become higher. And if Ja Morant doesn't even get offered one, his you can kind of write off and say he's missed a lot of time. The Grizzlies also made this weird Desmond Bane, not weird, but they made the Desmond Bane move. It seems like they're kind of reorienting a little bit. So that's why I have Trae Young's name still circled. Is just if he doesn't get an extension or if he signs for less than the max, that's going to be a trend that I'll be monitoring moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that's good on the Grizzlies. We can move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are uninteresting, I think, in kind of a good way. Like, it just feels like most of their business is done. But do you think they have 13 guaranteed contracts on the books, Mort? Do you think they need to add another ball handler, or is Rob Dillingham officially ready? Or if they decide to add another ball handler, what does that say about Rob Dillingham? Like, where do you sort of land on all of that?
I mean, you can add another ball handler. It doesn't have to be a guy who potentially, goes into the starting lineup or anything. Like, you can add another ball handler who is like a third point guard or something along those lines. Like, that'd be fine. I would definitely give the ball to Dillingham and just say, all right, run this show. Let's see what you got. And then we have Mike Conley to sort of, save his ass if necessary.
Can Mike Conley still save asses in the year 2025?
That's the bigger question. did anyone pick up Monte Morris?
No, he's still out there.
All right, and wasn't he with the Wolves at one point too? Like, doesn't he?
Yeah,
know
I
the
think he
system?
was. I mean,
Feels
they
like he
could be
was.
another interesting Malcolm Brogdon team.
Oh, that's a good shout. Yeah, I don't hate that because then he can also play the off guard spot and be more of a scorer, which I think would be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, I don't hate that.
Because they have, do they actually? Maybe I was, no, yeah, 13 players on, yeah. So I just wonder, like, uh, because if they don't add another ball handler and they don't view Rob Dillingham as someone who's going to come in and soak up like 20 minutes per game, I think it puts kind of a lot of pressure on Terrence Shannon Jr., Dante DiVincenzo, and then, of course, Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards. They feel like one guaranteed someone can come in and make some decisions with the ball short. And I like Rob Dillingham, in theory, should be that player. I came away from Summer League kind of thinking I don't know if that's going to happen this season, though.
Summer League is such a hard,
Fair.
like that's right. You know where I'm going with this. It's such it's such a difficult place to like project anything. I do hear you though. Like he only played 10 minutes per game last season when he was like the 8th overall selection and they needed guard play. That was kind of worrying, but it's not to the point where I'm like out on him by any stretch of the imagination. I guess we'll see. I don't hate the idea of getting another guard in, but I don't think it'd be one of those guards who would threaten him to take away minutes on his account. Like you need someone who's just basically acceptant of whatever they're gonna get, right? Like,
and I think to be clear, the only way that so what the actual red flag would be, because I don't think anyone they're gonna sign, unless they were a Ben Simmons team for some reason, even that wouldn't necessarily signal anything.
right?
It would be a trade where it's, and I'm saying they don't trade Rob Dillingham, but they trade for another ball handler that you look at. Like if this was the Ayo Dosunmu team, you might clock that and say, they might not have faith in Rob Dillingham next season.
Yeah. What would? All right, Ayo.
Oh, I was just throwing their trade assets are so like you don't want to trade. They do have some more flexibility on the trade market, just relative to they are with the salary cap. But
right,
I don't like Leonard Miller and like their matching salary is Mike Conley if it's not Rob Dillingham or DiVincenzo.
It feels like they actually need like a mid-tier contract to move. They don't have a guy making in like the $16-17 million area, which I think could be an issue moving forward. Well, we'll see.
I mean, they have like Naz Reid moving forward, but that's in the 20s.
Yeah, and are they ready to move off of him given the contract that they signed? Because and that's also a weird team, right? Because they extended Gobert some time ago as well. Like
DiVincenzo's extension eligible too. I'd wondered if they might extend him, but he has 2 more years left. I think that's a decision you wait for next summer.
Yeah, I think so too.
But like he seems way too important to move either. And so then you're like, is it feasible to think that maybe you could upgrade from Mike Conley by moving Mike Conley?
Like in a 1-on-1 trade?
No, I mean, you probably have to sweeten it a little bit.
No, it depends on the sweetener, but no, I think that should be fairly reasonable. I mean, he's an expiring contract, after all.
I'm going to be very curious to see what type of role Dillingham plays this season. That's enough on the Wolves. Another kind of easy team there. Not a lot of business left to do. Speaking of teams that are not easy, though, Mort, the Pistons have a ton of the Pistons. Wow, sorry, Detroit fans. The Pelicans have a ton of bigs. And I would say no elite rim protectors. Statistically speaking, their most elite rim protector last season, when you look at points saved per 75 possessions, was Kevon Looney. But he did not contest a ton of shots at the rim, like just relative to being in that position. Right. I think Yves Missi would probably be your best bet as saying, okay, that's your best rim protector, because it's not Zion, it's not Derek Queen. So it's just
definitely Missi, yeah.
So is that like fine?
Yeah, emphasis on fine. Like it's unspectacular is what it is. I love how you're like completely lasered in on all the rim protection, where I'm just like, oh, look at all the holes everywhere else as well. It's if they figure out their rim protection, that's cool. Then they only have to like fill out 700 other gaps.
They have some shooting and self-creation on the roster now. Maybe you could say they don't have enough shooting, but like you have Trey
Right.
Murphy, there's Jeremiah Fears, there's Jordan Poole shot it. Well, Jeremiah Fears not really a shooter, but Jordan Poole shot it really well last year. You would have to assume they have enough ball handling, especially if DeJounte Murray's going to come back at some point. Um, so
Right.
I guess I'm just for a team. This is why it stood out for a team that has so many. First of all, they're not even like conventionally big, most of them anyway. Like when you look at Zion or Kevon Looney, but like for a team that has so many bigs, to not really have like a guy that I point to like, yeah, that's like a really elite rim protector. Which is why I remember Shamit Dua covers the Pelicans for In the Know, does a fantastic job. Had suggested they go all in on a Walker Kessler trade. And when I was reading what he wrote, and it all made sense. I'm just like, that's a really shitty spot to be in after you just drafted Derek Queen
Yeah.
and then signed
Yeah.
Kevon Looney.
Yeah. This is generally a small team and it's not a team that how to phrase this. Like you have quality at a certain level at more or less every position, but the quality is so inconsistent. Every ounce of it comes with like question marks. Like, look, Sion and Brian Toporek, shout out to him. He actually reminded me on a podcast we recorded that Sion has some issues that like legal issues that are going to be a thing. This NBA season or off season has just been loaded, so I actually completely forgot about that. So there's that, which could also affect his play on the court, which also could affect his future in the league. There's the Jordan Poole situation of it all, where you don't really know what kind of version of him you're going to get. Are you going to get, the more calmed down version of last year, or you're getting year one Washington Jordan Poole, where he's just firing up shit? What's the injury situation with Dejounte? Like Herb Jones, is he going to be healthy? Jeremiah Fears, is he going to have a year one breakout more or less? Like, is he going to be a rookie of the year candidate? I have him like in that discussion at the very least, especially if the shot is going to come along. But we don't know that yet. We'll see. Derek Queen, according to Ricky O'Donnell, who like that, I'm just going to use his words, is a no 3, no D center, which, yeah, that sounds great in the year 2025.
I typically do not like those players, and I came away from him in Summer League like really appreciating what he does, but you very much noticed. I know a lot of people called out the defense. I wasn't as locked in on that. The ground boundness is just overwhelmingly evident.
Mm-hmm. No, so, I mean, look, Queen is good at what he does. Like, I think the best comp I came up with when he felt like a Boogie Cousins in terms of just scoring the basketball, like getting from point A to point B, and just putting the ball in the basket. That is not insignificant. Like that's a substantial skill set. But if you can't defend the basket, if you can't hit the three in this day and age, good luck. And also, we still don't know what the hell Jordan Hawkins is. And this team's just like, we can talk about rim protection, but we can talk about like 3-point shooting, decision making, roster stability, legal issues.
Well, I think with this team, it's so when you look like, let's talk about like the facilitation. Okay. You look at this, it's like, okay, they have a bunch of different ball handlers, but do you trust any of them to be like the primary table setter for everybody else? And it's probably not. Like Zion, and that's it. So it's just the bigs just stood out to me too, because the DeJounte Murray thing, if he's healthy, maybe that like the complexion of their team looks different there. There's a ton of questions with this team, but in terms of just like what urgently needs the biggest upgrade, it seems like if they're trying to be good next season, and if you're going to trade an unprotected first round pick, I know Pelicans fans are going to be tired of hearing it, but if that's the deal you're going to make, you're trying to be really good next season. If it's like that's the thing that could improve this team the most, would be like, let's put an elite rim protector on this team, because now you're insulating. Like, where do you think it's easiest to cover up for defensive efficiencies? I think is you have that strong backstop. It's going to be harder to do from the perimeter, working outside in.
Right.
And also, like, you have Jose Alvarado, you have Herb Jones, you have Trey Murphy running around the perimeter. So I think that they need to. I hadn't given it enough thought. So it's like, shout out to Schmidt until he wrote about it, I think, a few weeks ago. But that's what it feels like this team should really. I like Yves Missi. I like Derek Queen. I like Zion. But like, those guys are not. Again, Missi comes closest there probably, but they're not guys I view as just, they can be elite rim protectors, the back line of a really good defense.
I agree with that.
This is going to be a spicy one more, so buckle in for the next hour and a half.
Yeah, right.
Will the Oklahoma City Thunder, is it time to move on from Ousmane Dieng and maybe create another roster spot?
Yes.
That hurts my soul as someone who was all in on Ousmane Dieng like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't like
yeah.
they do traditionally. I mean, they end up moving these guys that are headed for restricted free agency or might be extension eligible. We saw it with Josh Giddey. There were some delays on like we saw it with Trey Mann. Like there was more delays on that, and Poku, who's out of the NBA currently. But like from the Sam Presti playbook, it seems like Ousmane Dieng would go somewhere. It's just, will it happen over the offseason, or is it going to happen closer to the trade deadline?
I guess we'll find out. Wave and stretch. No, I'm kidding.
Like if I'm the Nets, I'm taking a flyer on Ousmane Dieng. If I'm the Jazz, I guess the Jazz have a ton of like forwards. Well, they have Lowry, they have Taylor Hendricks. Yeah, they're Filipowski right there a little up. But like Ousmane
are
Dieng
you really?
is, like,
are you? I mean, yeah, I guess you could.
He makes under $5 million. You're gonna tell me he's not worth a flyer?
Ousmane Dieng, isn't he earning 6.6?
Okay, he makes under $7 million, Mort.
Okay, fair enough. In today's league, it's like 4% of the salary cap. I could get behind that. It just has anything stood out to you over 3 years so far?
Oh,
that's
there is maybe not so much anymore, but there have been moments. There's like a real on-ball feel there. We just have like the shooting, and then he gets in like these deer and headlight stances on defense.
Right.
Totally get it. But like, I think if you put him in an offense that maybe makes him more, he's still kind of skinny. Can he work out of the short roll? I would just be interested to see, put him around a bunch of spacers and maybe see what he could do if you're going to put him the ball. Like, is there a Jeremy Sohan type role?
Did you just say put him around a bunch of spacers as if he's like the number one option?
Josh Giddey. Stop.
Oh, Josh Giddey. Well, I thought you said
I didn't mean
Dieng.
as like put the ball in his hands. Like if you could put him on a team.
Clear it out for Ousmane, guys. Come on. Come
First
on.
of all, if you're trying to command the tank, you're going to tell me that's a bad idea?
That's fair. That's a fair point. So, like, you're saying you should trade for Ousmane Dieng if you are a sneaky tank team, basically.
How do we get him to Boston for this year? Because I have no idea what the fuck they're planning on doing. When you look at their center rotation.
Boston needs a
play
center.
him at center.
Yeah, Boston needs a center. Ousmane Dieng as starting center. Go for it. All right, that's
Sam
what
Hauser to OKC for Ousmane Dieng and stuff. That would save Boston money, too.
I don't hate that. I don't
actually.
Hate
does
that,
OKC
actually.
have that? OKC, I just assume, has infinite salary flexibility. They're barely under the tax. I might take them over. So they would need to throw some other stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's not going to work for them.
Right.
Sorry. And you're obviously not going to trade Thomas Sorber. That's just not allowed. So they could work. I mean, but let's get them to send Sam Hauser somewhere else. Then I don't like. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of when for him because there's no pathway for him to getting minutes on this team.
No, but I also like I just feel like, and it sounds ridiculous because this team is so freaking deep. I'm just at that point where I'm like also looking at the salary slot. I'm going, oh, you can do better, OKC, but like that's some real sicko shit too. I'm looking at literally the deepest team in the league, and I'm going, they could do better with that $6.6 million slot.
You know what would be like embarrassment of riches shit is if they traded Ousmane Dieng and then it just got Io. I think that would fit within their like keep them under the tax, and then they have all these like these defenders who are small but can guard up. That would just be ridiculous. But I'm wondering if they do something like
Mitchell, who's like, oh yeah, finally a contract. Perhaps I can play a little bit.
No, I mean,
hi,
come on. At that point, they're playing 5 guards at once. It's absolutely happening.
Right. Oh, so. Tobich too. Yeah.
We move on to the Phoenix Suns, who were very weird about the way that they announced like their point. I'm very, I guess, is sensitive the word. I'm kind of cognizant that we don't need to use traditional like positional archetypes, but the Suns have gone out of their way to make it say like Jalen Green will be starting at point guard, which is just no matter what you're trying to do, whether it's make it seem like Devin Booker gets to slide to his natural role or that you're not going to put a certain responsibility on him, the look is just terrible. And I don't think you get to sit here and say like if Jordan Goodwin or Jared Butler makes the roster or if you have Colin Giuseppe, like that's not the answer. This team, I know that positions are very fluid. They need like a game manager. Like this would be the roster Tyus Jones would have made sense on rather than last year because the ball would have been in his hands a little bit more.
Agree.
Are they really not going to sign a floor general type player, Mort?
Uh, well, give me a second. I'll call management. I don't know. Given that they're spending 134 million on the five guys, the five top earners on their team, and they're all wings, I would say that they're paying themselves into a corner, Dan. That would be my read on the situation. I don't know what the hell they're trying to do. I don't know what they're trying to achieve here. I'm guessing that there's a trade deadline trade lined up because this makes just no sense. Their roster construction is completely warped. So is it a
Especially
trade?
with all those young
Is it a
bigs
signing?
on the
Yeah.
roster, right? Like
Yeah.
with or Mark Williams and Cayman Malawach specifically, it feels like, look, I think Devin Booker's probably an undervalued passer at this point,
He
but it
is.
feels like they need someone else to
Right.
like help organize those bigs or at least put them in optimal situations coming out of screens.
Correct. Yes. Like you brought up Io for literally every single team out there.
Is he
This
the new
is
Kobe
probably-
White?
Right? Like he is probably the guy to bring up for this team. Someone who can just run the show, albeit in a low usage, low volume role. Yes.
So you don't expect them? You think they'll roll into the season like this? You don't? They're apparently interested in Jonathan Kuminga, which does he make
Right.
sense on this team?
Not as a floor leader, no.
Well, no, not as a point guard, but even as just I guess you want another on ball scorer, even though you have Jalen Green. I just find that odd too.
No, I don't like the fit there. I mean, look, so you're also going to hinder like Ryan Dunn's development, who's like his minutes are actually going to be significantly important to them because if his three ball takes another like leap and if his defense remains, like that's a player right there. I just don't like. I want them to do something. We're at that stage of the summer where just kind of surveying the field. Like, how many open trades are there at this point? Like, can they like? Hi, we want a point guard for Grayson Allen. Like, 29 teams are just gonna shut the phone off and just like, nope, not gonna take it. I don't know what the trade is. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what is out there for them that actually makes sense. Are they shopping Dylan Brooks? If so, who are they targeting? How does it make sense? It's still not going to fix the Jalen Green, Devin Booker thing. Like, I hate this roster with a passion of 1,000 suns.
Yeah, I don't know what the move is either. Like even you looking at Sacramento has like a surfeit of guards, but none of them I
Right.
think come close to like a Malik Monk. Like that doesn't really do it for
No.
me here. Utah's probably not willing to sell that low on Keontae George, would be my guess. He might be
And
semi
again,
interesting.
those two guys you just mentioned are better as twos anyway.
Keontae George, I think there's probably still some room, but I do
No,
your
yeah,
point is
no,
valid.
sure, but he came into the league as a two. They tried to develop him as a one. They're still doing that, and he's done admirably. I will give him that. But if we are being real with ourselves, like his best position is probably still the two.
You know who's kind of sneaky good at throwing lobs? I'm just wondering if he was gettable. Jose Alvarado. Is
Yeah.
that just a non-start New Orleans? He's 2 years and $9
could be
million
fun.
left on his deal. That's so fucking cheap. I don't mean to cackle. That's so ridiculous.
What like is there a team out there that just have an overabundance of point guards
I mean, Charlotte's weird right
Mm.
now. They all of a sudden went like guard crazy.
Yeah, they did.
But Colin Sexton isn't really a point guard.
He's not. He's more of
Josh
like just
Green
a-
can do some live dribble stuff, as Grant would point out if he was on the show, but I can't get aboard a Josh Green train.
No, not at all. And like the Clippers are probably not gonna like give them Chris Dunn anyway.
That's also like, is that someone you want running the show?
Yeah, no, not really.
Bogdan Bogdanovic doesn't really that's not real. That was never his
No.
super strong suit, but that's not really his game anymore. They might be able to talk themselves into Cam Thomas being like a point guard type.
That'd be interesting to say the least. Yeah.
They would be a team that would be like, hey, if Denver was looking to shed this out, like a Jalen Pickett, like
Right.
take a flyer on him. I'm not saying he's the answer, but
God.
and at that point it's
that's
like, well, then
just
if I have a
scraping
problem
the
with
bottom
Colin
of the
Giuseppe
barrel,
and
though.
Jalen Green
Yeah.
running things, I'm totally cool with Jalen Pickett running it. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no teams with like. And I don't even know if like Malcolm Brogdon mostly is going to create out of drive, so I can't even say they'd be a great Malcolm Brogdon team.
I'll tell you something. This is something that I've been not tracking in like a scientific sense. it does feel like the league at large is getting lower on point guards, like actual point guards.
Well, it seems like they want players with more size who can pass, shoot, like
Right.
decision make, that type
But
stuff.
but it feels like the traditional like court vision point guard, like one position point guard, is about to die.
Doesn't it feel that way about one position players in general a little bit?
Potentially so, but the point guard was always like your quarterback, like the heart of your team. He always sort of found a way to survive, right? And now that position seems to be not there. Like, when is the last time we've seen like a draft where you go, oh, they have like 3 point guards in this draft who could be all stars? Like, when? Like, even 1 or 2, like at best 2, and then it's like one of them is sort of in a surprise. Like, when is the last time we've really seen a guy just come in and you're going, oh, that's a franchise point guard right there? It's been a while.
Like,
Morant?
and can't scale up to a different position.
Right. Morant? Was he the last one?
Scoot? Or did you think of him as an off guard?
Yeah,
when he came in?
that I felt like I was missing one. Scoot is probably the one. He got the hype. That's true.
Does Dylan Harper fit that bill, or no? He's kind of viewed as like he's got
Like a
good size.
combo, right? Because because the size alone makes him a little bit of an untraditional point guard, if anything.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's a good. I hadn't thought about it. I've always viewed as like the one position fours is what everybody seems to be out on.
Yeah.
Does like what Gabe Vincent? Does that do anything for you? Like, this is
I don't think Gabe Vincent does anything for Gabe Vincent.
wow. Even when he's healthy, seems rude.
Yeah.
Should they be the Terry Rozier team? The Terry Rozier Renaissance begins in Phoenix.
Well, I mean, just make sure that when he subs out, no, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot, but I do think like they should probably make having a getting a better passer on this team needs to be a priority. That's where I'm at.
No,
with-
for
with
sure,
Phoenix.
for sure. No, yeah, this roster has just a lot of issues.
Our next team is the Portland Trailblazers, and I'm asking this question. Maybe I'm overthinking it, especially because Dame's not going to play until next year. But as of right now, are we to believe that one or both of Jeremy Grant is going to come off the bench, or is it more likely that one or both of Shaedon Sharpe is going to come off the bench? And in which case, do you even want one or both of Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson? Like, it just feels, I know Scoot's done that for most of his career, but at some point, don't you want him to start? So I'm just wondering, is there like, whether it's Grant or Holiday are the names I've circled? Because let's go through this way. Who would you view as locks for Portland's starting 5 or even closing 5 next year? I would just say a big, whether that's Klingon or Jan Hansen, Tamani Kamara, and Denny Avdia are just my absolute locks.
Yep, same. I understand that the Blazers had a fun second half of the season, and they probably want to like accelerate the rebuild a little bit, trying to get competitive. That's great. Scoot, Shaedon should start in the backcourt. Absolutely. I don't give a flying F about Drew Holiday or Jeremy Grant's like perceived notions of, oh, look at my resume and what I can do. No, like this team has to, and emphasis on has to get Scoot and Shaedon going to a point where they figure out once and for all, what do we have in these guys? Like you can't jerk around Scoot anymore. It's time. It's year 3. You need
especially
to figure
with
out what
Dame, like in the shadows like of the following season.
right.
Now would seem to be. And maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. If they're prepared to do this, kudos to them. I just can't envision $70 million worth of Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant just coming off the bench next year.
No, but you know what? It is what it is. They made those trades, and look, if they're trying to win right now and they're using those guys for that, I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask the bigger questions like, are you sacrificing the future of your own organization just to have a good 25-26 that's ultimately not going to lead to anything substantial like this season? That's a bad ideology.
So if I was to say, I'm going to set the over-under of 0.5 of Sharpe and Scoot coming off the bench next year, you're taking the under on that. You think they'll both start?
I think they should both start.
I think one of them is going to come off the bench. as of right now, anyway. Maybe that changes.
I'm inclined to agree that that's what's going to happen. I'm arguing that it shouldn't happen.
I will say, I don't think it'll be Sharp, but just because like he feels like if you need a starting two guard with Simon's guy, it's just like it has to be Sharp to me. But if you don't extend Sharp, and then he's also coming off the bench, that opens like all sorts of weird conversations. And I very much think that starting lineups can be overrated, but they do also help inform what these closing lineups will end up looking like. So I just have my eye here. I'm not saying it's anything sinister, and I think the Blazers have telegraphed that maybe they're going to go for it a little bit this year, but they've really earmarked 2026, 2027 as the season they'll go for it. Hashtag caps lock, go for it. But I find myself thinking that things would be so much easier for them, just developmentally, if they moved off of. I mean, I guess you just got Drew Holiday, so you're assuming he was always going to serve a purpose. But like maybe Jeremy Grant, but is he too valuable? I know he couldn't hit a 2 last year, but when you look at the shooting on this roster, it's so bad. They traded their best floor spacer in Simons. Dame isn't playing this year. Holiday's a clear downgrade from Simons as a shooter. And then didn't they just sign? They're the Blake Wesley team, right? So like their shooting has gotten worse. I don't know what to do with that. Like the offense feels like even if like I guess I find myself wondering, have they even optimized the environment for Scoot and Shaden to develop properly on the offensive end yet? We saw strides from Scoot specifically last year.
Right.
But I would argue, what did Sharp average? Like 18 points a game or something last year?
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily learned anything about his offense through those 18 points per game.
Well, we know that while he has a shot, like a shot release that looks tremendous, the results are still very, very fleeting. And we can talk about that being a direct result of a team that wasn't necessarily like a high efficiency 3-point shooting team that didn't really always optimize floor spacing. We can talk about a general lack of quality all around the roster. I don't know. What I do know is we saw the last half of last season, we saw Denny unleash himself there at the very least. Yeah. So, like, I think that's where the offense is going to start. I think the ball is going to be in his hands a lot more. I think Scoot is probably going to play off of that more than be, the guy who takes care of the ball 80-85% of the time. So it's probably going to be one of those things where over the first month or so, they're going to throw shit at the wall, see what sticks. And then from month 2 and onwards, we're going to have a better idea of what they're trying to achieve.
I think that's fair. I still don't know what their guiding offensive principles are just yet. I think they've made it with the personnel even harder to find it. And what you mentioned about Avdia, I totally think he earned that, like what he did last season. But like it even makes me think more like, okay, like they might just view Scoot as a reserve again, at least for the first part of the year until maybe the trade deadline. Are they shutting someone down, or they end up moving someone at that point?
That'd be bad.
Probably not a huge. I don't know if it's a huge problem, but it's just when you had 2 years of Scoot predominantly. I know he started some games being a reserve. Year 3 with Damian Lillard preparing to be there in year 4. It's just a little awkward. I'm not saying they can't play together, but when Scoot has yet to be a regular starter, it's just weird.
Right.
Our next team, don't really even want to have to, like, I'm just so over this team, Mort, I'm not going to lie. They're definitely going to trade a guard or two, right? Right? Please? No?
Is probably my answer on that one. They should. They also, I brought this up with Brian when I recorded the other day, our good friend Brian Spork. Like, did we ever get
friend,
feedback?
My ass. Speak for yourself. Who is that?
All right, that's fair. Did we ever get an update on the Domantas Sabonis? I'm gonna have a sit down with the Kings.
Well, we know that he called for them to sign a point guard. They proceeded to add. Would you call Dennis Schroeder like point guard adjacent, or do you count him as a point guard?
Adjacent. I mean, yeah.
So I would argue that they probably did not.
Right. Yeah.
Get him the type
and it's the same
wants.
with Carter. Carter is also like a point guard adjacent player.
Well, they're like dangling him in talks with Jonathan Kuminga, apparently, in the sign-in trade.
Oh, that's
true. And
true.
look, Nick Clifford,
yes.
I'm a big believer in Nick Clifford, but who is pictured here because I forgot to change the image from a stock thing I had. I do not think the Kings should trade Nick Clifford. That is not what I am saying.
Right. I don't know what to say about this team, Dan, other than all the fun vibes of 2 years are dead and buried, and it's all very, very horrible. I have no optimism left in this franchise at all. I don't know what their plan is, short term or long term. Their salary structure is all over the place. Sabonis, while I love him, is actually also a no 3, no D center, which is so difficult to build around. They decided that, hey, the Bulls apparently were great with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, so why not go after that one more time? This is probably going to be year 4 where they kind of forget that they have Keegan Murray on the roster.
As a rule, we didn't go into rookie extensions except for one team at the end. He's also extension eligible, and his price point, that's a really tough deal for him to negotiate when you look at how his role has fluctuated on offense over the first few years.
Yeah. So, I mean, is this a team that's just, do they have their first next year? Let me just check.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Because they conveyed it this year it went to Atlanta.
All right, but there's also
or was sent out. It might have ended up somewhere else, but they had to trade into the first
it's
round.
top 10 protected next year. But that means because my thing is, I wouldn't be shocked if the Kings are, a team that walks away with one of the big 3 in the draft next year. That it smells like this season is gonna get off the rails pretty quickly.
Do you think they're gonna have the wherewithal to pivot into that type of direction?
I don't think they necessarily need to pivot into that direction.
So they do own what pick is top 10 protected that you're looking at? I have them getting their own 2026 first.
I was looking at Spot Track where it says, let's see here, if 1 to 10, if not already settled with Atlanta. Okay. So Spot Track, yeah.
That's good for them. They just don't. I don't know if they're the organization that would pivot into some. Because also, do you know what's weird about this team? They do have so much NBA talent that I don't know that even if they're organically bad, like they're not going to be as bad as like the Pelicans or the Jazz. I guess maybe those are the only teams. Is there any teams you're prepared to say the Kings are going to be better than in the Western Conference as of right now?
Utah, probably. But like the combustibility of this team is huge. Just huge. Like Dennis Schroeder is not necessarily, that wasn't even the word I was looking for, is by no means a good vibes type of guy at all. So like you throw him into that locker room equation. He's not really a point guard. Neither is Malik Monk. Let's just be real about that.
No, he's like his stuff is going to happen out of drives, things like that.
Exactly. Like I love LaVine. Never, you should never cast him as a number 1 scorer, which that is absolutely the role that he'll have going into the season. Sabonis, still so difficult to build around. DeMar, just like take 17 seconds off the shot clock and then, take a contested fade away from 16 feet. That's good offense, I guess. All right, great. Like I just think this is a roster that like they could come out and win like 5 of their first 10 games and people will be like, "Oh, look at the Kings." And then by the end of January they could have like 12 wins total. Like that's right?
Do you know what's their roster feels so incoherent? What do you even view as their single biggest need?
I don't even have an answer to that.
I don't want to sit here and say a floor general when they have so many guards. And I just feel like when you have Sabonis and Monk and DeRozan and LaVine and like Neek Clifford and Dennis, like there's enough there, I guess. But is it another type like are Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray and Neek Clifford or those your wing types? It does
a rim protector, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, backup center might be their. They've decided that we don't need that. We had that for half a season, and no, we're good.
We agree that this team is probably going to rank the lowest in the NBA in blocks per game, right?
Who is their best shot blocker? Might be Neek Clifford.
Keegan Murray, maybe even.
Yeah, Keegan Murray does contest a lot of shots at the rim. Yeah. That's a good call out.
God, this is so bad.
Orlando doesn't really need anyone they have, though. Like they would be a good maybe Jonathan Isaac team. Like just someone to come in, play 15 minutes a game. He could play the 5 for them. That'd be interesting. But Orlando's looking to save money. What's the Kings situation? No, they're towing a fine line too with the. That's why they had to make that Jonas Valanciunas trade. This team is so uninspiring.
Yeah.
Oh no, they have $6.7 million in tax space. They could do something like so. If Orlando's looking to get out of the tax, maybe there's something there. They don't really have a But the money is just, you're not giving up, and no, you're not going to give up any of those guys. So Jonathan Isaac is basically just out. But point taken is they could use a backup 5 rim protector. I think they could use another, unless maybe Nee Clifford's just ready right away. But maybe you have between him, Keegan, and Keon Ellis, you just have enough wings. Yeah.
Oh God, Dan, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
I'm just trying to talk myself into the theory of this roster.
You're sitting there, well, the Kings, like Jonathan Isaac. Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? It doesn't matter.
What's
You're putting lipstick on a pig right now.
What's more likely, the Kings trade one of their guards before the start of the season, or they extend Zach LaVine?
No, more likely that they trade one of their guards. Let's be real.
That's good.
No, wait a second. Good. That depends because if Zach is open to like declining that last year and he gets like a flat 30, like.
Well, how many years out do you have to go then if he's going to give up
probably
$20
$4
million?
Probably 4.
Because what is his player option for? It's like $49 million or something, right?
49, yeah. So that's 20 down almost.
Yeah, no, that's not you. There's no way.
Yeah, you'd have to give him 4 years.
But if you're him, 4 years and 120, you're getting.
You know what? You're right.
70.
No, that's not enough. He's going to have 35 at least. Then, all right. No,
Yeah,
so you know what? I'm going to say the trading of a guard. Yeah.
That's honestly, that's the most optimistic. I think that's the place to leave it. That's super optimistic of us. We're on to the San Antonio Spurs. You didn't spoil this, but you talked about this a little bit. Could De'Aaron Fox? He's going to be eligible for an extension. Could those talks get interesting or no? Because when they acquired him, they didn't know that they were going to have the Dylan Harper pick. So it's like, do things get a little weird? Do you expect him to still sign an extension? Do you think it'll come in less than the max? What are you thinking here? If
Luka signs the extension, I think De'Aaron Fox signs the extension. That's where I'm at. But the thing is, what is the extension? Like, would I go full max on this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I love De'Aaron Fox. I would not go like full boat max on this one.
So is full boat max if they stay for the
that's the full 30, right? Like
yeah,
the 30, yeah.
It's the 7% increases. It's like 4 years and 222.4.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. The Spurs are in such an advantageous position because we are going to see so many guys to say, hey, we want to get there because they know that could be a path to a title and they could be part of something very, very special there. So that means that they have to look at De'Aaron Fox and go, is this the best player we can get? Is this the best co-star we realistically can get to Wemby? The answer there, it better be yes if you are extending him, because if you are, that's your core. That is your running mate for him. So you have to be sure that there aren't more exciting, better, obviously, options out there before you do. So don't pull the trigger unless you're sure.
What do you think is a number that you'd be comfortable doing it at? Throw the Luka stuff out of the equation.
Oh, okay, well, if you just throw the Luka stuff out, what is the right number? That's a really good question.
Does 4 for... So you don't want to give him the max. Is 4 for 200?
Yeah, so what that's 50 a year?
Right? Yeah, 50 a year. By the way, I think he is...
That's a lot.
He's been extension eligible for a while. He can sign one through October 20th, apparently. So the fact that we haven't seen one might be a little interesting.
Right.
That actually lends merit to what I thought was a batshit crazy Luka conspiracy, because I just feel like the Spurs don't operate on that wavelength.
Maybe not, but I mean, they should.
Some credence has just been lent to your harebrained theory. Apparently, it wasn't so harebrained. Look at you.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't like 4 for 200?
I don't. And the thing is, I actually like De'Aaron Fox a great deal, but that lack of a jump shot, or not a jump shot, he's got a jumper, the 3-point shot specifically.
The waxing and waning of it, for sure.
Right. It concerns the shit out of me, especially if you want to optimize that pairing between him and Wemby. That just makes me nervous as hell. So
why does it concern you when Wemby is already such a good shooter?
No, he's a spacer, but I want if I'm the Spurs, I want to make sure that I have someone who is very reliable as an outside shooter who's also a ball handler. And considering Stephon Castle right now is one of the worst contested three-point shooters in the league, Dylan Harper is a major question mark as a shooter. And then Fox as well, where he's had one good year, which seems like an outlier year from three, and then everything else has been sort of pedestrian. I just don't feel great about that. I want to make sure that if I'm the Spurs and I'm putting my chips into the Wemby bag, obviously, I want to make sure that everything around him is as optimized as humanly possible. Is that the case with Fox there if you're paying him $50 million a year? I don't love it, Dan. I don't.
So this, as someone who's always counted themselves as higher on Fox's jump shot than the consensus, this backs up your point. So over the past 4 seasons, here's where Fox is ranked in catch and shoot 3-point percentage and then pull up 3-point percentage. 2022, the 58th percentile in catch and shoot, the first percentile in pull up threes.
Oof.
In 2023, 47th percentile in catch and shoot threes, the second percentile in pull up threes. In 2024, that vaunted season you referenced, the 72nd percentile in catch and shoot threes, the 87th percentile in pull up threes. Last year, the 35th percentile in catch and shoot threes, and the 14th percentile in pull up threes. So there's a lot of, I'm supporting your point. There's a lot of truth to what you're saying, and I say that as someone who thinks that the pull up 2 and the step back 3 from De'Aaron Fox, I'll forever trust, maybe for some irrational reason. But you are correct that 2024 was a major outlier for him.
It was, and it's something that bothers me because it's people have this tendency to see a guy who has this sort of a breakout season and then go, oh, that's the new norm automatically. And then they expect that to be consistent. And then when he regresses to the means, people are like, oh, well, he'll bounce back again. From what? Honestly, that wasn't a bounce back thing. That was just him returning to norm. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Fox should be on the fun max. That's not what I'm saying. But I would much prefer it over, a 30%er. And again, with the second, eventually this team is going to be expensive. It's going to be very expensive. And if he's earning $50 million a year and can't freaking pull up from 3 at any reasonable rate, then I think it's perfectly reasonable to say that could be a bad contract.
I'm wondering if it ends up being shorter. Then, we're talking a lot about the price point. I'm wondering if this ends up being a 2+1.
Oh, that's a good shout.
Or something.
Yeah. All right.
If he doesn't get an extension, by the way, that's going to be a 5-alarm fire for the speculation factory, right?
Right. Yeah.
Our final team in the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz, our one rule breaker. To extend or not to extend Walker Kessler Mort. This is a rookie extension. I don't want to talk about Larry Markkinen trades anymore. It doesn't move me. So I don't think that's a piece of business they need to figure out, but that's why we're going this direction.
So you're asking me if he should be extended?
I'll answer my own question if you don't mind.
Great. Yes, I would love that. Yeah.
I think they absolutely should extend him. I think that he's kind of in that tier of player to where you always see these trade packages for him, and I'm sure I've maybe even proposed some of them, where I just don't think they effectively align with the value he provides as a rim protector. And I think there's a lot of, okay, look at what he doesn't do on offense. He's not the most switchable big. Last year, Mort, he ranked in the 90th percentile or better of rim contests per 75 possessions, rim points saved per 75 possessions, and shooting percentage allowed at the rim versus expected. That was each of the past 3 seasons, the 90th percentile or better. That's all per B-ball index. Do you know who else has done that over that span while logging at least 1,000 minutes in each season?
Tell me.
Absolutely nobody. So I'm not saying he's the game's best rim protector, but I do think that he is, when it comes to being a conventional rim protector, transformative. And so if I'm the Jazz, and the leverage that it seems like teams have with bigs and extension talks, maybe you're worried about a Jalen Duren extension coming through for way more, but Mark Williams hasn't gotten an extension yet. If you're looking at if he'll take Jakob Poeltl money, that should just be done.
Immediately.
20 to 24 million a year, or even Nicholas Claxton money, right? Aren't you just pouncing on that if you're Utah? Yeah.
Immediately. Yes.
Because I don't understand. I guess what you're betting, maybe you're trying to keep him trade eligible if you don't extend him. He still would be able to be traded, but we know how the poison pill provision works. As someone who's on his rookie scale salary, I don't know what type of value he's going to bring back unless you're including you have that huge trade exception. I know. I just think that that's overthinking it. And I would argue that he just might be more valuable on his next contract if you're looking to move him next offseason at a larger price point and not have to go through the rigmarole of the base year compensation if it's a sign and trade. So I don't think they should play any games, and I think they should just extend him. There's also, by the way, I should have mentioned this at the top, he might just be a core piece of their team.
Yeah. Right. I don't have a lot to add to that because, yeah, I totally agree. So I guess my question is, what is your walkaway price, if anything?
So if I'm the Jazz, and we know how restricted free agency has worked for like the past half decade or so, where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of offer sheets, if I get over the $25 million marker, I'm probably like, okay, we're trying to get something out of this as more of a team-friendly deal. Right. And so if he wants more than Nick Claxton got, didn't he get like 4 for $100 when he signed it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm probably like, you could probably still talk me into if he wanted like start at 25 million and then go up to 26 and 27. Like you could probably talk me into like 4 for 109 or something, or maybe 5 for 125 or something around there. Excuse me, 5 for 130. But my walkaway number is probably a lot higher than some other people's would be. I'll say that much.
No, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are thinking about the center spot these days and going, oh, well, you can just sign them and it's not a big deal. Well, not this type of player. Like the truly
Tell that to Charlotte and Boston right now.
Right, exactly. Like the truly impactful defensive centers who have legit size, who aren't, playing with heart and hustle, who are like 6'9" and they do very, very well at that height level. Like this is someone with real size, real skill, real influence, where you don't have to like feel like, oh, like he has to compensate for a lack of size or whatever. Like this guy is huge. This guy's absolutely freaking huge. He is so agile. He's movable. He's flexible. He'll block shots. He'll actually block a ton of them. He'll grab rebounds. He's the best offensive rebounder in the league. He'll hit on putbacks. He'll get lobs. Like, if he gets just 1 or 2 moves in the post or a counter or a bit of a midi, I'm there. And he's only 24. He just turned 24 like 4 days ago. Like this guy's not even close to done to develop. Yeah, I'm paying him.
He's kind of like Miles Turner in a way, right? Where it feels like he's so valuable, but then the trade offers never seem to match up with how valuable he is. I was like, oh, could we get him for like a top 20 protected first round pick or something? And apparently if you're the Bucks, you just need to wave and stretch Damian Lillard and get Miles Turner. But
unlike Miles Turner, he can actually rebound though.
It's cruel. Can he shoot? He did try to shoot threes when the Jazz were like full on tanking.
He'll
probably, based off the direction that they're headed in this year, I think he's going to be taking some more threes perhaps.
Look, if he becomes just a moderately good 3-point shooter, like just, 33%, whatever.
Nate Duncan calls it a party trick. If he has like a party trick 3-pointer, like a Jonas Valanciunas type 3, like it doesn't need to be. If it's Brook Lopez, then forget about it. How many like All-Star games is this guy making?
Right, exactly. Am I wrong for saying that I like Walker Kessler more than Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Are you wrong?
No, but we're talking
on their current contracts. No, but like Jaren Jackson Jr. is more dynamic.
He is, and a scorer or that. But we were talking about Walker Kessler at 24, 25 million. Like we agree that that's like from a value perspective, and like what is Jaren making right now? Is it 50?
No, he's not at 50. He's going to be at
35. Right. Yeah. Sorry. All right. Okay. Then it's not as egregious. I'm going to withdraw my question. All right. Never mind.
So Jaren Jackson, if Jaren Jackson Jr. is making double what Walker Kessler makes on his next deal, then yeah, it's probably a conversation maybe. But I think this is one that people might overthink though. And I understand, like, would you give him as much as Jared Allen got in his extension with the Cavs? Wasn't that basically like, it ended up being 3 for what, 90 or whatever it was? or is that too high because Jared Allen does there's definitely more switchability there. He has more scoring chops for sure. That's probably a little rich, but that might be if I'm Walker Kessler and his agent and I know my rim protection numbers, I might be looking at that. Yeah,
I don't hate it.
So Jared Allen was 3 for 90 around
Yeah.
there.
I mean, it's beginning to reach that point where you're like, oh, okay, we need more offense, and like you alluded to it. If we see any type of real offensive development from Walker Kessler this season, just in terms of again having a legitimate post game or having a reliable long two and the occasional 3-pointer, or if he just starts hitting 70% of his foul shots, and that seems like it's sustainable. If we're seeing just some level of offensive improvement that seems to be sustainable, his price tag is just going to jump.
Well, do you think when it comes to restricted free agents specifically and knowing what his best case outcome might be, do you see a team coming in with an offer sheet next year that would be make the Jazz a little skittish or anything? Just because that would be, I think that's the conversation Utah will have behind closed doors is, yeah, we really like him. We would pay him a bunch of money, but we're not scared of someone coming in and giving him an offer sheet for a bunch of money just because, one, RFA doesn't seem to work that way anymore, and two, when it does work that way, who's the last big man that got this massive offer sheet in restricted free agency?
Well, first and foremost, let's identify the players currently on the RFA market who we keep talking about, right? So it's Josh Giddey, Cameron Thomas, it's Jonathan Kuminga, and Quentin Grimes. Those are the 4 people that we're talking about. Grimes
Josh
is the one
Giddey
guy.
just signed for 5 years and $130 million.
Right now?
I'm just kidding. I wanted to see.
Oh
if
God,
I thought
it's 1 a.m., man. Don't mess with me. I was like, what? All right, you got me on that one, actually. See, now I forgot my point. God damn it. All right.
You were going through the list of RFAs. Yeah.
Right. So all of them have major question marks in regards to their influence, right? You cannot have a question mark about Walker Kessler's defensive influence. So there would be teams out there who immediately would identify Walker Kessler as someone who can add a significant portion of wins to their total. Whereas, oh, let's go out and sign Josh Giddey. Is your wins total moving in the right direction if you sign him, or is it going the other way? That's a legitimate question. Kuminga, does he move the needle at that point yet, or is he a couple years away from doing that? Cam Thomas, what kind of role are you looking at for him? What is that? Is he going to be your starting 2? Do you want him as your 6th man? God forbid I just proposed that. He's going to come after me now. But with Kessler, those questions aren't there. You know the impact. You know he's going to help you turn into at worst, top 12 defense probably.
I think people would point to and say the Jazz were not a top 12 defense last year.
But they were also young. They were trying to lose. I'm talking about a team that's actually trying to be competitive, sign him as an asset, right? The Jazz themselves, they were not trying to be a serious basketball team last season.
Oh, are you sure?
I feel pretty sure about that. Yeah, just a little bit.
No, that's a very fair point. I think I'd also be curious. I don't even know what they ended up being defensively with him on the court because they had 29th in defensive efficiency last year, and with Walker
30th. They actually had the league's worst defense, but I don't think that was Kessler. I mean, obviously.
I think that was Kessler's fault, and he should get $5 million a year. No, so they were in the 25th percentile, or excuse me, they were in the 18th percentile with him on the floor, which, I mean, you got to look at some of the lifts he was pulling. If Lauri Markkanen's at the 4, Cody Williams was playing, Sexton. Right. Yeah, There's some rough lineups he was in. Man, him and Taylor Hendricks, I think they could be a pretty formidable front court. We're too far afield on that. But so I get your point there. I guess it really comes down to some of the teams that could technically have cap space next year. Would they be teams that are going to be in the market for a big? Brooklyn, if they have cap space, probably not. Chicago could be. They might be a cap space team. Who else is there? I mean, the Clippers could be a cap space team. They're not going to need a center. The Lakers could technically need a center. DeAndre Ayton's that's a 1+1.
Talk to me about the Pistons. What are we looking at next year?
The Pistons. So I guess that a lot. If you're not going to keep Jalen Duren or Jaden Ivey on the books, looking at their cap holes, they could technically be a cap space team, I would assume. So, Yeah, they're looking at, well, they're negative 18, but with those cap holds. So they have, there's the Duncan Robinson monies on that, as those only
That's only
partially
guaranteed for $2 million next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, they could be
And
a cap
Tobias
space.
is out.
Yeah, and Jaden Ivey has a $30 million cap hold. And Duren has and I'm assuming if you're getting Kessler, Duren's not there. So they have $50 million tied up in cap holds for Duren and Ivey. Yeah, they could be a cap space team for sure.
All right. I mean, that's the team for him, if anything.
Yeah, that'd be pretty scary. I think like Duren's shown more as a passer for sure, maybe in space as well.
Yeah.
That would be, man, JB Bickerstaff would love him.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
like,
yeah,
I'm not.
to your point-
I love Duren. By the way, I love Duren, but like, he's still what? He's 6'10".
I would kill
so
to have his delts. That's for sure.
But he's shorter. Defensively, he's definitely not as advanced as Kessler by any stretch, at least not yet. I don't think he'll ever be. Offensive potential, significantly higher. I'll give him that. But now that's a pretty easy Walker Kessler advantage
And
to me.
Look, I think it kind of singles out to is it only takes one team to just come in and say, like, that's our guy. And, like, if the Lakers have cap space and the Pistons could have cap space, like, that's probably enough of an existential threat. And even Chicago, like, who's Chicago's big man of the future? Maybe they'll extend Vooch. Maybe that's what they'll do.
Why not? Right?
Well, I could come up with a bunch of reasons for why not, but the Bulls could probably come up with a bunch of reasons
For
it.
why? Yeah, no, for sure.
So do you think, to wrap this up, do you think they extend Walker Kessler?
I hope so, but no, I don't think they will.
I think they're going to, and I think it'll be for $20+ million a year.
I hope
That's
you're
my-
right.
Mort, this was fun, and we said 5 minutes per team. We averaged, I don't even know what it ended up being, but 2 hours and 10 minutes later, the live stream was fun. We'll be back with the East at some point. Can you just tell our fine listeners, watchers, subscribers, haters, where they can find you and all the fantastic work that you do?
Well, thank you so much. You can find my work over at Yahoo Sports. You can find it at Forbes. You can find it at the NBA podcast. And if you speak Danish, you can also listen to the podcast of Buzzer Beater.
And
Oh,
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, of course. Yeah. How could I
Sir.
forget? That's my primary income source. Yes. How could I forget?
until next time, and as always, we give the shout out to the one, the only, the indelible, the one who could fix every single team's problem and should be on their radar, Mr. Frank Ntilikina.